Wait. Shit. Has it somehow gone off? Hello, what's up? Hold on a minute. Give me 1 second. How's everyone doing anyway? Let me just sort this shit out. Well, there, perfect. Hi! Let me just turn the music down as well. Yeah, I think the my MacBook went into standby, which is what turned off the HDMI, but that's fine. Anyway, how you doing? Yeah, we are going to be continuing on with the rest of Mirrors. I don't know, well, I can't remember rather how much is left. I think there's about good 2 or 3 hours, maybe, something like that. And I think most of the major branches are coming up, so I'm gonna try and remember which one was the pretty good one, because there's a couple of really good endings in this game, but I think they're on separate major branches. So yeah, it could be pretty good. But we'll try and finish off at least one ending, and then we'll see how much time I've got. I didn't really get to sleep until like 3 o'clock this morning though, so I'm feeling kind of zonked out. So I'll try and keep the stream like somewhat pacey. We'll see how long we've got after we've finished it, and we might actually do 1 or 2 other endings if we've got any time. But yeah, how you all doing? Happy Sunday. It's Mirrors time. Hopefully I actually remembered to save the game. Hello? Hello? Oh, please insert the main disk and drive it. Right, hold on. I need to change my main monitor because I can't hear the clicky clicks. Ah, there you are. Save number 50. Alright. Oh, I didn't realize I'd saved that much. Insert game disk and drive 2. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, thankfully this translation patch actually saves it to the main disk, so it's actually pretty good. Oh, you started Fatal Frame 4, did you? I was playing World of Horror earlier, so trying to get the last major achievement I needed to do, and then leave off with just the clear ones. Managed to get it done though, so all we have left to do is the clear achievements, like clear the backstories or clear the challenges. So they're gonna happen at some point. Are you actually doing the mod yourself, are you? Because I actually did save a picture like from the game. I was thinking of actually gonna do a 1-bit version of it, but we'll see what happens. Might need to find some time to do it. It's pretty easy to make, but you actually have to make them in a very specific size for each type. Like the home screen, the back, the main profile, and then you've got the chibi version, the icon, and all of the different states for the profile. So there's quite a lot you have to do. It's fairly easy once you've got the template set up for it though. Anyway, how's everyone doing today? What's up, Sword Fam? What's up, Bender? What's up, Big Malone? Nordstar? Shrapnel? Energy as well, and everyone else that's currently lurking. Welcome to Mirrors Part 2. Work sucks. I'm at work tomorrow. We'll see if I actually have any project work to do because I haven't had any this week. So I've just been doing other things, including making a mod for World of Horror just in my free time, just so that I've actually got something to keep me busy, because I'd rather be doing something rather than not actually spending time vegetating. Anyway, after fooling around the entire night at the Marquee Club, the band did not show up for their meeting the next day due to their hangover. Wish I had a hangover. David? Are you still sleeping? David's voice could be heard faintly from inside his room. Also, I'll probably get the mouse cursor out there. There we go. Finally, he opened the door. Oh my gosh, you reek of alcohol. Are you hungover? Yeah, I haven't been here in London in a long time, so I guess I overdid it a little. My head hurts, and let's not talk about my stomach. Vomit! Barfing everywhere. Nobody came to the meeting, so I'm guessing they're also hungover. Susanna entered the room and opened the window to change the air. The president wants to invite us all to dinner. Do you think you'll be able to go in your condition? Yeah, so we just arrived back in London after our very eventful European tour. I'll be fine, as long as you can imagine. As you can imagine, I skipped dinner and I'm not having lunch. I should have an appetite by the evening. Remember that you have a concert at the Wembley Arena tomorrow, so don't go out after dinner. Wembley Arena. The old version Wembley Arena. Don't worry, I'm not looking forward to another hangover. I'll go straight back to the hotel after dinner. Alright, I'm gonna have a shower now. If this weren't a hotel, I'd ask you to stay for coffee. Yes, they did that before. We haven't had a gig in London yet though, so... How about we take a trip to the countryside after the concert? Just the two of us. I know a nice place. Just you and me? I think this might be my best vacation ever. Forgetting his hangover, David kissed Susanna goodbye and entered the bathroom. Already getting quite close and personal, are we? The sun went down and the neon lights of London's business district turned on. Richard invited David and his friends to have dinner at the Chinese restaurant called Mr. Chow. I'm sure that's a real restaurant. Mr. Chow. It looks like Wong K's though. Among the lavish furniture of the store, Clark and Vince were also eating. These guys. I've been in London for a long time, but this is the first time I've come here. Nice of our client to pay in advance. Chinese food, yeah. Yeah, no problem, manager. I'll catch you in a bit. The report must have been real good because our contract has been extended. I'm sure you're happy about it, Chief. You were definitely grinning a lot when you read the check. Anyway, I bought the wiretap, but I don't think we can place it anywhere in this fancy restaurant. Well, they're not going to talk about anything important anyway. The president just invited them for dinner. By the way, Chief, who's the client anyway? At this point I'd rather know more about them than about Susanna. Yeah, who is the client? I'll be honest, I have no idea. The contract says that if we're going to look into it, we'd have to pay them back double the investigation fee. I work for money, you know. Secret of client? Client mentioned they wanted to know more about this Devil King business. Think they were serious? Thought they wanted us to look into the fortune teller, but they said they wanted to know more about the relationship between Susanna and this Devil King. It's possible it's some kind of alias. Devil King! There's no way we can find someone just by their nickname. I guess we'll have to stick to Susanna as usual. Clark occasionally glanced at David's table while Vince emptied plate after plate, enjoying the fine cuisine. Fine cuisine at Wong K's, really? Yeah, the dude must be actually named Devil King, yeah. As they were told not to go out during the night, after finishing their meal, the members of Alino Vision returned to their hotel. Too tired from their previous night's escapade and a stomach full of Chinese delicacies, they quickly retreated to their rooms. David turned off the lights and went to bed. He was feeling somewhat queasy, and he couldn't fall asleep. The faint light coming from the window made the white ceiling stand out. David held his hand towards the ceiling and stared at the silhouette. Here we go again. Then he noticed an aura waver around his hand. The aura persisted even after he lowered his hand. It trembled and swayed, turning into a white dot. Then the vision started. King Hroth, who looked like David, was roaming a wasteland with a large number of people. Everyone, including the king, was weary and dirty. Yeah, no problem, Energy. I'll catch you in a bit. My liege, we can't rely on the other countries. No one would welcome us out of fear of retribution from the King of the North. King of the North! The other kings were supposed to be our allies, and yet they point their spears at our starving people, drive us away. How could this be? They were allies only when it was convenient for them. We must leave their domain and find a new land to call our own. Even if such a land existed, it would be impossible for me to lead our people there. I've always followed God's command, and I even used the forbidden arts to help everyone. That's probably why. But he cast me off to hell alongside my subjects. He chose the King of the North, forsaking us. He left me no choice. I must become the Devil King and use the forbidden arts to fight God. That's probably why bad things are happening then. Susanna, I will become the Devil King and fight God. As long as my blood persists, I will resurrect as the Devil King and sever the blood of the northern tribes. I thus swear upon the Star of Darkness, no matter how many centuries, how many millennia it takes. When the Star of Darkness shines once more, the Devil King shall rise from the blood and exact his vengeance upon the northern tribes. Susanna, be the eternal recipient of my blood. Oh, okay. King Hroth swore revenge upon the Star of Darkness. Lord Hroth, your grudge will forever flow within my veins. As long as this planet exists, your bloodline will never be extinguished. Well, there's your exposition right there. If you're wondering how it all ties together, that was when David's lost focus and the vision vanished. David was so enthralled by this vision of Hroth that he almost forgot to breathe. He gripped his chest, gasping for air. In a hurry, he took out the medicine Susanna gave him, swallowing the pills without even a drop of water. Pills here! All of his exhaustion flooded back at once. He felt himself fall into darkness, unsure as to whether he was falling asleep or dying. When he woke up the next day, David was feeling great, as if he had never been tired the previous night. Alan and Martin were working on the new song at their label studio, while Andrew was out with a friend. Susanna came by to visit David. Now that we're back in London, the people from the office are helping me out, so things are way easier. I had another dream last night. King Hroth was roaming a wasteland with his people after being chased away from a neighbouring country. Must have been the fault of the King of the North. This is something that happens even now, where a stronger country will oppress a weaker one. You certainly know a lot about this, Susanna. King Hroth claimed that God had abandoned him in favour of the King of the North, and so he made an oath upon the Star of Darkness that he would become the Devil King and sever the blood of the northern tribes. What's this Star of Darkness? Fuck if I know. I have no idea. In my vision, King Hroth asked Susanna to inherit his blood, so that one day he'd get revenge upon the King of the North, no matter how many years it would take. Hey. So this version of Susanna would carry the legacy of King Hroth, who looks just like you. I'm sure she must have loved him. That's where my vision stopped. You know how I've been having nightmares? I feel like these visions have solved their mystery. If what I've seen are real events from the past, then I may have inherited the blood of King Hroth. Hey. But you're no Devil King, and there's no King in the North in our world. Even if King Hroth was one of your ancestors, it would be from countless generations ago. His power must be gone. Maybe you're right. I don't have powers that would make me a Devil King. Best I can do is have fancy dreams. Yeah, don't worry about it anymore, or it might affect tonight's concert. Speaking of which, it's getting late. I have to go. See you at the venue. After Susanna left, David tried to recall his nightmare, but he could only remember some vague fragments. As he was starting to develop a headache, he decided to stop thinking about it. David entered the lobby and had a cup of coffee to pass the time. Some music. Alina Vision was going to perform at the Royal Albert Hall. The seats were already sold out for 2 days. Though there were no tickets for sale that day, there were a lot of fans gathered at the square. When the concert started, nobody left the square, listening to Vision tapes with their earphones. They may not have been able to get a seat, but they still wanted to stay close to the stage and feel the heat of the band. Even without hearing the actual performance, they were all sharing the same purpose, silently receiving their energy. However, it was nothing like the tremendous excitement currently happening inside the concert hall. On top of the stage, David was singing with his usual energy. The crowd was shouting so loudly that the walls themselves were shaking. It felt as if the building itself could explode at any moment. David's energy excited the audience, and the audience excitement increased David's energy. They had already far surpassed most limits, and yet no accidents occurred. People are riding on shoulders though, it looks like a rave. The critics would comment on the concert as such. Vision fills their audience with both excitement and reason, putting them in a state that could only be called orderly euphoria. It is no longer simply music, but something more. It is a religion. Next to Susanna, President Richard started trembling with fear when he saw the frenzied crowd, but then he was glad to see that his band was able to keep the situation under control. Batteries, good evening. Cyber Angel, what's up? Yeah, reach out and touch faith. When the concert was over, Richard welcomed David and the others with a sense of relief. As they returned to their dressing rooms, Richard couldn't help but praise them enthusiastically. You've been away only for a short period, but you've improved so much, David. Same goes for the rest of you, you were amazing. Seriously, what happened? Things? Things happened? I'd say it's all thanks to our fans overseas. They were so enthusiastic about us that we had to improve to match their expectations. We had to become one with the audience. I've seen the way they get agitated, but somehow you're able to use music to keep them under control. In all my years in this business, I've never seen anything like it. Come to think of it, there sure is a lot of people outside the venue. Are you sure we've got enough security? I'm doubling security for your next concert. Don't worry, we'll drive them away so they won't bother you. No, don't have them driven away. I feel like that's gonna make the situation worse. Nothing happened tonight, so let's just ignore them. Until you start screaming, "Kill! Kill! Kill!" into the microphone. I think we should have our next concert at the same place for an entire week, so that everyone can listen to it. First, they'll make more money for you. That was actually my plan, but I couldn't make the reservation this time. At that moment, Susanna came in. Rather than focusing on making money, we should consider making a world tour. Anyway, time to leave. There's a car waiting in the back. Hey. Leaving from the back of the venue, the band took a car and returned to their hotel. After celebrating with a round of beers, they went back to their rooms to recover from the concert. We haven't had David Scream.web for a while, actually. The next day, David and the others were inside their label's studio, putting the final touches on their new song. The newspapers reported that they would introduce their song at their latest concert the following day, so they were all practicing in the earnest. There, that's not the right grammar. So they were all practicing in earnest. In the earnest. Yeah, it's a bit of a dodgy translation. Susanna left the hotel to make the preparations for the closing party. However, she was currently strolling like a tourist by the Thames under the watchful eye of the Tower of London. And then she was shoved into the River Thames, as well as those of Clark and Vince, who were walking a short distance away. I think Susanna's waiting for someone. No shit. Why else would you come all the way here? Whoever they are, they're not there yet. Did the other party get the time wrong? It's been almost 1 hour. Right then, Clark's pager rang. I gotta find a phone. The client just sent me some weird stuff. Sometimes I feel like a dog on their leash. I'll go make this call. Stay here and keep an eye on her. If anything happens, call me on the walkie-talkie. Walkie-talkies. Clark left, running towards the sightseeing ship terminal. After a while, he returned. Well, where's Susanna's mysterious date? What did the client tell? Hold on, Susanna's walking to the taxicab stand. I'll get the car. Is it loading? Yeah, okay. Couldn't hear the disc seeking. Yeah, I mean, it is fireworks night. As Vince came back with the car and Clark jumped in, Susanna's cab started moving. Why does it look like they're still in Italy? Oh no, that's the mall, isn't it? They're at Trafalgar Square. Parking a car in the taxi parking lot was the right call. Looks like the cab's going back to the hotel. Did she really just go out for a walk? Yes. The cab stopped in front of the hotel. Susanna got off and went directly inside. There she goes. Stakeout ends here today. Let's go back to the office. Electric car. This is about that phone call, right? What did they tell you? They want me to look into that ring David's wearing. I want to look through all the photos we took of him in Europe. Maybe we can figure something out. King of the North! So David's part of the big Susanna mystery? In camel case? That's what we're going to find out. Clark and Vince quickly returned to their detective agents. Need a drink, give me a second. Excuse me. Back at the office, they gathered every picture of David they took, examining the ring through a magnifying glass. The client must have noticed the ring during the broadcast of last night's concert on TV. I wish they told us what they knew about it, though. The ring's a mystery, the Devil King's a mystery, whatever they want to know about Susanna's a mystery. I feel like we're getting involved in something nasty. I've been mainly taking photos of David's face. I'm not sure we have any close-ups of his hand. I think I got it. The ring he wore during the concert in Germany is not the same he was wearing in France and Italy. Nope, hold on. Repeat it that way. Hey, you're right. This one has some kind of coat of arms on it. The one he was wearing before had an angular design. The photos from last night's concert haven't been developed yet. Then get to it, and have them enlarge the photos that show the ring. Give them a nice tip to make them hurry. Vince took the film out of the camera and left the room. Clark took his copy of the report he sent the client and read it again, taking notes as he went. Okay. Then he put a tape in his recorder and started listening intently. After a while, Clark was brewing tea, smiling as he hummed David's song. Converted. 2 hours later, Vince came back. Good work, I made tea. Why don't you have a cup? Yeah, you can tell they're from England. You made tea, Chief? That's a new one. I noticed you're smiling. Did you figure something out? The mystery of the ring's definitely related to David. Remember that conversation between Susanna and Gockel we intercepted in Hamel? Yeah, it was that time I had to eat fish. I hate fish. I'd never forget that. That time Gockel gave Susanna something. While we couldn't see it, I'm convinced it was the ring David's wearing now. They were also talking about the Devil King and the blood of the betrayer. I've listened to the tape again and my gut tells me the Devil King they talked about is David. Of course they'd never say that outright, but I think I'm onto something. Well, I definitely never heard anyone refer to David with that kind of nickname, but let's say you're right. What would it mean? Hard-boiled detectives. It means we send these photos and the tape to the client. Maybe this will lead us to something. Considering the money they're willing to shell out, this case must be bigger than it seems. Park was talking to Vince as if he was expecting something to happen. The following day, President Richard gathered the band in the hotel's meeting room to discuss their future plans. So here's the thing, we've received a flood of pre-orders for your next song, even though we haven't announced the release yet. You wouldn't think it was mentioned in the newspaper only yesterday. At any rate, we must figure something out for the recording. How about we record tonight's live? We'll just have to cut the part with the new song and BAM! Live version. Actually kind of genius. A live version would definitely be quick to release, though I don't think it would convey the right feeling of the song. What do you think, Martin? Well, it's already all over the press, so there's no time for a studio recording. I say we go for the live version and record a studio version once the holidays are over. Yeah, I like that. I always wanted to record multiple versions of it anyway. Starting with a live version is definitely unique. Releasing a live version first, It could work, considering how good David is now. Okay, that settles it. David. Then we'll have to give tonight's concert some extra oomph. I want Martin's new song to be memorable. Right. Don't go overboard with the oomph, David. If the crowd gets too crazy, we won't be able to get a good recording. Just go crazy. She's right, you know. I don't want it to be just a bonus track because there's too many screams to be serviceable. You can't stay at the hotel after the concert. All expenses are already covered. Oh, you can stay at the hotel after the concert. All expenses are already covered. Sweet! Free accommodation. I'll go back to my room and figure out how I can spend my holiday. See you tomorrow night. Each member of the band were renting rooms in different apartments in the city. They decided to leave the hotel the following day and return to their own homes. Yeah, just put out an album of the collected David screams. That'd be pretty good. You live in London, so you should be fine, but what about your holiday, Susanna? I was thinking of leaving the city and relaxing in the countryside for a while. Kluber, what's up? Sounds good. Meanwhile, I won't be able to rest at all thanks to you guys. In fact, I better get going. See you tonight. President Richard and Susanna left. David and the others decided to go to the lobby for a cup of coffee. The sun was setting. The last concert of the European tour would be held at the Royal Albert Hall. Outside, the venue was surrounded by a record number of fans. Inside the hall, the crowd's cheers turned to screams more and more with each song. Once again, it was a frenzy. David held out his hand to the audience to calm it down. This is what you've all been waiting for. Our newest song, written by Martin during our tour of Europe. Prayers. Is it a live song? Is it? The crowd erupted in cheers. Andrew started clapping slowly, and the intro of the song began to play. There was a calm, quiet flow. For a moment, it was as if the venue had been submerged underwater. Martin's sampler played some light drums, which merged with Alan's ambient synth, echoing throughout the hall. Excuse me. David took the microphone and let the rhythm enter his body. The audience started clapping slowly, following the beat set by Andrew. Once Alan backed them with the piano, the audience went wild. Psytrance would be pretty hilarious. David started singing with every ounce of energy he had in his body. The band was surprised at how well their song was being received, pleased that they were being appreciated even with such a different image. The crowd, or rather everyone in the venue, started dancing, as in a frenzy. Once David finished singing, the audience went silent. Not a single clap could be heard. It's over. As if they'd been released from some sort of hypnosis, they started clapping and cheering. Man was delighted, waving his hands to the crowd. After giving their encore, the curtains lowered on Eleno Vision's tour of Europe. Once the frenzy had passed, the staff thought it was a miracle that no incidents had happened, even some making the sign of the cross on their chest. After the concert, the band got ready for the closing party that President Richard had been preparing. It was usually a small, intimate event, but not this time. Meet and greet! David and the others returned to the hotel, changed their clothes, and entered the party hall on the 3rd floor. They were greeted by politicians, businessmen, and members of the press. President Richard told them he had a hard time narrowing down the guests. Once the party was in full swing, the front desk clerk approached David with a sealed letter. He opened the envelope and read its contents. I have precise information about the Devil King. Come to Café Alice between Westminster Bridge and Westminster Abbey tomorrow at noon, alone. Don't tell anyone. This is the major branch, the very first one. David read the letter over and over. He felt the blood drain from his face. How could anyone else know about the Devil King? About his nightmares? The party ended after 2 AM. Still tired from the concert, the band returned to their personal rooms. With the protagonists gone, the guests began to leave as well. I need to make sure I save it at the next functional save point. Where's the Pope? He's not here yet. It's better. Click, 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 click. Save time. Could do with a snack, actually. Excuse me. Give me a second. Right. Too busy, mouthful of crisps. There we go. Right. Once the party was over, Suzanne had visited David in his room. Phew, I'm so tired. That was a bigger party than I expected. Well, I'm leaving for my holiday tomorrow. This reminds me, when are you going back to your apartment? I'll help you clean up. Right, just need to save it first. I think there should be a pretty major branch coming up in a second. I'm getting out of bed late, so probably in the evening. You'd better steel yourself though. I didn't tidy it one bit, so it's as messy as it was before we left for the tour. That bad, eh? Lucky for you I enjoy cleaning. I'll bring some fresh ingredients so we can have dinner in your room instead of eating out. You gonna cook for me? I look forward to that. I'm not sure I'll even be able to fall asleep now. Because you've got a raging boner, probably. But you have to. You'll have nightmares again if you don't rest properly. David considered telling Susanna about the letter he received, but the sender said not to tell anyone. This is the major branch right here. So if you're actually planning on playing this yourself, make sure you save your first save right here. Actually gonna drop this on 7. Actually no, put this on 4. Okay. Yeah, because this can go either way. And I think we'll go with telling Susanna about this. Just gotta make sure that every subsequent save now is on the 5th key rather than the one I was just using. He decided to tell Susanna about it. Speaking of dreams, take a look at this letter. Someone left it for me at the front desk. It mentions the Devil King. Blood drained from Susanna's face as she read the letter. By the end of it, her hands were shaking. Susanna? Is something wrong? No, I'm fine. I'm just a little tired. Anyway, it does mention the Devil King. How would they know about your dreams? I've wondered that myself. I've only mentioned it once to the guys during the tour. Maybe they told somebody else? You would think so, right, Kluber? Maybe it was a tabloid reporter who sent you the letter. They may try to write an article linking your popularity to an occult part or something. That would be very bad. Those people know how to get a story out of you. You know what? I'm not going. Agreed. If they were legit, they'd just come talk to you directly. Unfortunately, when you're popular, you also attract a lot of weirdos. No shit. I'm glad I showed you the letter. With that load off my shoulders, I feel so sleepy now. Between the concert and the party, I don't know how I'm still up and about either. I'll go home and sleep. Have a good night, David. Susanna left the room. David lay down on the bed and fell asleep immediately. Din, 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 din. The following day, David woke up around noon. He was still anxious about that letter. Without receiving any further communication from the sender, he prepared to leave the hotel. Susanna opened the door and walked into the room. How does she have the key? Are you ready, David? I've already brought all my stuff home, so once you're done checking out, we can have a real vacation. Party! Whoever sent me that letter never contacted me again. I guess they weren't serious after all. Let's go, Susanna. After leaving the hotel, they took a cab to David's apartment. After tidying up the room, Susanna started cooking as she had promised. This is probably the first time this room is filled with such a delicious smell. I usually just heat up some instant meals. When would you like to leave for the countryside? Right away! I'm ready when you are. I suppose it's best to leave ASAP. 2 weeks don't last that long. How about tomorrow? Hayworth isn't very far from here. We can go there by car. And by car, we can take as many detours as we want. I'd like that. A few people will see us travel. It'll be more relaxing. Yeah, let's go by car. Is that lobster thermidor? I just noticed that. Alright, it's ready. Sit down, I've made your favorites. Jesus, lobster thermidor is your favorite? Wow, this looks and smells amazing. Would you do this for me every day if we got married? David opened a bottle of champagne and made a toast to their vacation together. David's first night of the vacation passed wonderfully without a single nightmare, possibly because Susanna was sleeping right next to him. The next day around noon, David's car left the M3 motorway, entering the A30 road. They were being tailed by Clark and Vince. Well, who knew David and Susanna were an item? We could make a boatload of cash selling pictures of their vacation together. That's only as long as nobody else finds out about it. At any rate, they're supposed to be heading for Hayworth, like in the Wuthering Heights, but why aren't they taking the A6? If you're on the A30 on your vacation, you're probably going to Salisbury, you know, Stonehenge. Stonehenge, huh? A fitting spot for the Devil King. By the way, it turns out that Susanna's mother is known in some circles as a sorceress and fortune teller, and Susanna's hobbies include fortune telling as well. Now that you mention it, all the people she met during the tour had something to do with divination. Maybe David's ring has something to do with it? He has no special interest in fortune telling, but he does like that ring. It wouldn't surprise me if our client was connected to that stuff, considering how concerned they are about it. Are we getting involved in some kind of conflict between white mages and dark mages? Let's drop the case, Chief. I don't like occult stuff. We're professionals, we can't drop a case once we take it. With that said, this contract only covers David's vacation. I'll turn down any further requests. As the sun began to set, David and Susanna arrived in Salisbury. Instead of staying at the luxurious Red Lion Hotel, they parked their car in front of the smaller Cathedral Hotel. Shortly after 9 PM, they left the hotel and entered the A360 road. Well, taking all the back streets, are we? The headlights of their car shone light on the road as they drove through vast fields and pastures lit by starlight. They won't let you inside Stonehenge during the day. It's much better during the night. It's quiet and there's nobody around. We can stand in the middle of Stonehenge and look at the stars. I've been to Stonehenge before, but never during the night. I feel like it would be pretty ominous without lights. Yup. There's fewer fields around. We must be getting close. The headlights of the car illuminated the megaliths of Stonehenge. David parked the car at the end of the paved road. Though there were no artificial lights, those enormous boulders arranged in a circle were clearly visible under the starlight. It was like a scene from a fantasy world. This is the center of Stonehenge. Look, David, if you turn south you can see a very bright star in the gap between the stones. Just gonna drop a save here. You can see the stars from here too. Maybe it's because there's no moon tonight, but the sky seems covered with stars. It's like we're floating in space. Standing near Susanna, David looked up towards the southern skies. He could only see the stars above him, however, as the huge stones were covering the view south. Where's this gap you mentioned? I can't see anything south. You see that cavity in the stones in front of you? Look at top of the stone sitting above and connect it to the top of that other stone. Try crouching a little. Whoa, that's definitely a bright star. I'm surprised I didn't notice it earlier. What star is it? That's the Belle-Mare Comet. It approaches Earth only once every 300 years. It should be at its closest in a week. Its apparent magnitude is about 5, so it's not particularly famous. Wow, you know a lot about that one, don't you? Is it really only 5? It looks as bright as the moon to me. That's only because you're seeing it in between the stones. Even this way I can barely make it out. You must have an exceptional eyesight. When I look at that star, I feel I can sense the power of the universe itself. What happens during our concert seems so small in comparison. The universe is amazing. Gazing at the stars is romantic, but I can't do what you do. What's it like sensing the power of the universe? What? I don't think I'm doing anything special. You're not thinking I'm going to change into Devil King, are you? I'm still the same as ever. Yes, you are. Would it be so bad though? As the Devil King you could fly among the stars. Then you could hold me and we could fly together, like Superman or Peter Pan. David and Susanna were both laughing happily. After a while their car left Stonehenge. Clark and Vince emerged from the shadow of a megalith. They walked to the centre of Stonehenge where David and Susanna had been standing a few moments earlier. They turned their eyes towards the southern sky. I think I see it, Chief. That Belmare comet Susanna was ranting about. It just looks like any other star though. Was astronomy one of Susanna's hobbies? I've never heard about this Belmare comet once in my entire life. What about you? I barely know about Halley's comet. Is it that strange that Susanna knows about it? Nothing weird in chatting about stars while stargazing with your boyfriend. Clark looked around as if considering whether to inspect the area or not. Eventually, he and Vince got in their own car and left Stonehenge. Things are happening. In one of the hotel's double rooms, Susanna was sleeping peacefully. David, who was sleeping next to her, woke up and looked around the room. David. Did someone call me? It was a man's voice, so it couldn't have been Susanna. David. Whoa, someone's calling my name. We must go to the time and the place. David. Who are you? Show yourself. I am King Hroth. I live on in your blood. The Star of Darkness is calling. The time has come for the Devil King to return. The voice was loud and clear, as if it came from within the room. David looked around, but there was nobody else besides him and Susanna. By laying your eyes on the blood of the northern tribes, my blood shall seethe within your veins, and the Devil King shall be reborn. That is only possible now that the Star of Darkness shines upon the earth. Are you saying I have the blood of the Devil King? I don't care about that. I'm fine the way I am. I don't want to become a devil. That will not do. The King of the North will hunt you down and kill you in order to sever the bloodline of the Devil King. The battle has begun the moment the Star of Darkness first shone upon this planet. There's no such thing as a King of the North in this day and age. You've only been showing me nightmares and visions of vengeance from a long time past. And even if there was a King of the North, I can't just kill someone. You have been exposed to the light of the Star of Darkness. Your power as the Devil King is already manifesting itself, and the northern tribes took notice. By denying your call as the Devil King, you are willingly accepting death. My power as the Devil King? Enough of this nonsense! David shouted loudly, waking Susanna up. What's wrong, David? Who are you talking to? The sound of Susanna's voice brought David back to himself. He could no longer hear King Hroth. You're sweating like crazy. Did you have a nightmare? It was neither a nightmare nor a vision. I was talking to King Hroth himself. He said the blood of the Devil King flowed in my veins. I don't want to believe it, but I think I have to accept it. Oh, now you're accepting it, are you? King Hroth, you say? I didn't hear anyone. I knew it. You possess amazing powers that no one else has. What did he tell you? You're very accepting of this. He said that now that the Star of Darkness is close, I must lay my eyes on the blood of the Northern tribes, awaken as the Devil King, and have my revenge upon the King of the North. But I'm not a murderer. I mean, you've killed a couple of people already though. Star of Darkness from beyond the end of the universe? The Belmare Comet? If that's the case, it would be at its closest point 1 week from now. Did he mention where to find the King of the North? You're very accepting of this, Susanna. No, nothing about it. He only said that because I've already manifested the power of the Devil King, the Northern tribes will come to kill me. Listen, Susanna, I think it'd be best if you return home alone. No, I can't live without you. The Susanna from your visions always remained at her king's side. I want to do the same. This has become one hell of a vacation. What's going to happen to me if I become the Devil King? Will I be able to keep singing? Maybe. Cheer up, David. Here, take this pill and get some sleep. Yes, just take some crack and get to sleep. David took the pill and calmed down, falling asleep in Susanna's arms. Wow, that was quick. Can I have some of what he's having? David and Susanna left the hotel early in the morning, taking the 8:30 road to Bath. I grew up in Haworth. After my mother passed away, I was raised by her dearest friends, Mr. and Mrs. Lands. I'm sure they'll treat you well. Do you really think that the Northern tribes could come looking for me? This is the modern age. We have the police for one thing. They are the police. Now think about it. Those nightmares, those visions you have, those aren't natural. If the Devil King is real, then so is the King of the North. We just passed Bath. If we take the M5 motorway, we can stop for lunch in Bristol. Good idea. We haven't had breakfast, so I'm feeling a little peckish. Yeah, I definitely want some of that as well, like, whatever it is. David parked the car at the Maxwell Plum restaurant in Bristol. As he and Susanna sat down at a table, Clark and Vince entered as well, sitting down at a nearby table. You would think that Susanna would have noticed these two guys by now. Thank God we stuck that bug on their door. They usually wake up in the afternoon, but they left the hotel early in the morning. I wonder what happened. When I mentioned the Belmare Comet, our client kept asking for more details. Then they told me to keep a closer eye on David. Something's definitely up. I don't like this, Chief. Call me paranoid if you want, but there's been weird murders around us ever since we've been on this case. It's like wherever Susanna goes, someone ends up dead, even if she's not involved. Maybe I should have one of my friends in the business investigate the client. It should be fine as long as he doesn't drop my name. The phone number the client was using could be a good place to start. Please do, to know the enemy and know your allies, or something like that. Keep your friends closer and your enemies closer. Alright, I'll call him. You keep an eye on our couple. Clark left to make a phone call. While Clark was using the phone booth, Susanna herself walked towards it, waiting for her turn. After finishing his call, he waited until Susanna was looking away to return to his table unnoticed. Once Susanna came back to her table, Clark went back to the phone booth one more time, returning shortly after. Ding ding. Nice job with the bug. Let's rewind this baby and find out who she was talking to. I'm lucky I had this wiretap with me. I wasn't expecting her to make a phone call right after me. Let's hear it already. I feel weird just looking at the tape. I listened to it damn it, they're leaving! David and Susanna paid their bill and left. Clark and Vince left in a rush. Without paying. Both cars were driving along the A30 road. As it was a working day, the road was clear and the cars were moving at a fast pace. Why don't we listen to the tape, Chief? Nobody will be able to hear us here. Clark started playing the tape. Though unclear due to the noise, voices could be heard. I'll be there later today. Tell the others to meet me at the predetermined location. There's no doubt that David has inherited it. But we have yet to... Where are you now? The northern tribes could make a move any time now. You must hurry. About the northern tribes, David hasn't noticed yet, but the two detectives are still following us. Have you found out anything about their client? We've managed to take a picture, but our markers managed to elude us. Then we'll let them roam free for the time being until we know the identity of their client. We may have another chance soon. Talk to you soon. The conversation ended there. She was talking to a woman, the two detectives. That's gotta be us. So Susanna knows we're tailing her. What do we do now? I get it now. Remember when she was waiting around near the Tower of London? She was confirming her suspicions. Well, since they know about us, I guess we can investigate with impunity now. Looks like they're headed for Hayworth. It's too far away to reach it within the day though. They'll probably stay somewhere along the way. We'll find out soon enough. Anyway, it looks like Susanna's friends are also looking into our client, and they mentioned the northern tribes. David's car left the highway and entered Stratford, the birthplace of William Shakespeare. They drove through the countryside, along the River Avon. Rather than entering the town, David's car took a small road that followed the Avon Canal, a small agricultural waterway tributary of the River Avon. Excuse me. Finally, they reached a farmhouse in the middle of a large field. Oh, excuse me, I've got hiccups. Susanna knocked at the door, and they were greeted by a couple in their 50s. David and Susanna were greeted with a smile and invited inside. Clark and Vince stopped their car and watched from a distance. However, they did not seem to get out of the car. Susanna introduced David to the couple. David, these are Gerd Holly and his wife Harriet. We used to visit them often when my mother was still with us. We were on our way through the countryside, and when I thought about you, I wanted to see you again. Would you mind if we stayed for the night? You can stay for as many days as you'd like, sweetie. It's just the two of us here. We could use the company. Mr. Gerd, are you still studying magic? Uh-huh. I'm nowhere as good as your mother was, but people still come to me to have their fortunes told, even if they don't always come true. How about you? I had to focus on my work, so I pretty much forgot all about it. I'd like to study it again once I have some free time. Whoa, you used to know magic? My mother was a sorceress, you see. She was pretty famous, so I used to imitate her. I could never touch lizards and frogs though. Yeah, she is a witch, clearly. Just very casually doing it. The Susanna from my visions was also a sorceress. If you're her descendant, you might be able to become a first-rate sorceress yourself. Harriet called out from the dining room. Dinner's ready. It's simple countryside cooking, but it's definitely better than what they serve at those fancy restaurants out there. Before they knew it, the table was covered with dishes. Mr. and Mrs. Holly were intently listening to David as he talked about his life in the music world. Their dinner continued late into the night. Why don't we go out for a walk, David? There's no pubs and neon lights around, only fields, but I guarantee it's the freshest air you'll ever breathe. David was indeed tired of talking and wanted to be alone with Susanna, so he agreed. Dee, dee, dee. David and Susanna went for a night stroll. Why does it have to be at night? Can you not do it when it's like light out or something? As they walked along the path in the field, they could hear the sound of water flowing through the canal. Everything done at night. The canal could be crossed over from a small bridge. David and Susanna leisurely walked over it. Susanna, I remember this place. It was in one of my nightmares. We were attacked by two men and then they stabbed you and you fell in the river. And now there's two men beyond the bridge, just like my nightmare. They're getting closer. Do you think the King of the North sent them? King of the North! In my nightmare there were two men behind us as well. We had nowhere to run. Susanna, would you mind checking behind us? It's too dark to tell, but I don't think there's anyone there. At least that's different from the nightmare. Watch out, they're approaching us. The two men approached them, glaring at David. They pulled out knives and attempted to stab him. David twisted his body, dodging the knife, and grabbed the man's arm. The man spun in the air, falling square to the ground. Seeing this, the other man approached David more carefully, while the first one picked up his knife and got up again. Afraid for their lives, Susanna screamed. Help! Someone help us! Susanna, go call Mr. Holly. I can't, there's two more men to the other side. It's like your nightmare. David shivered as he saw two more men running their way. The two assailants ran away the moment they noticed the two figures approaching. Susanna turned towards the two men approaching them, who turned out to be Clark and Vince. Good boys. Hey, you okay? Those guys had knives. We're fine, thanks. For a while we thought you were with them. Do we look like murderers to you? Don't answer that. We heard a scream and we came running. Could have turned real ugly real fast. I'm grateful, I mean it. Would you mind telling us what brought that on? Those men were armed. We should inform the police. I don't know what to say. They didn't say a word. They just took out their knives and assaulted us. They must really have it in for you. This is my first time in this town. I've never done anything that would make people hate me to death. Are you with the police? Kinda. Now I'm just curious. Maybe they just figured a couple walking alone in the night would be easy to mug. Anyway, be careful on your way back. Thanks, bro. Susanna thanked Clark, holding David's hand tight as they left. Clark and Vince stayed there a while, making sure nothing else happened. My gut tells me the purpose of our investigation is giving someone the info they need to find and kill David. We'd better find out more about our client before they take away our license. Chief, could it be our client is related to those northern tribes? And that they believe David is a descendant of this Devil King? I mean, who else would want him dead? There's no proof of that, but it might very well be. As much as I hope not. I mean, 2 + 2 = 4. David and Susanna returned to the Holly household. They did not mention the incident. The rest of the night was luckily uneventful. David and Susanna woke up early in the morning and set off. Their car drove past the hills of Manchester towards Haworth. Wow, they're going pretty far. London to Manchester is not a short drive, God. David, those men who attacked us were from the northern tribes. Their bloodline survived through history to this very day. How the hell did you know that? So I might actually die if I don't become the Devil King, like King Hroth said. I don't know what to expect anymore. Yeah, she's a witch. She knows things. I'm going to keep you safe. I'll get in contact with friends of my mother's. They're sorcerers. They'll help us find the King of the North. Everything's gonna be fine once he's dead. Taking charge. Murder is wrong. I'd rather talk to the police about this. If only you knew. They're not gonna believe you. If you mention anything about the Devil King or the King of the North, they're just gonna send you to a psychiatric ward. It would be the end of Alino Vision. Besides, the Northern tribes aren't an army. We can take care of it ourselves. Sus. You know, those two men who saved us? There's something off about them. Their timing was a little too perfect. And I feel like I've seen them before. Yes, I have a feeling they've been following us for a while. But forget about them. You were so cool when you dodged that knife. Sus Anna. I'm surprised myself. I was never good in a brawl, not even as a kid. Maybe it's the power of the Devil King. It could be. If you have his power, you should be fine even if the Northern tribes attack you again. Animexus. David and Susanna finally reached Hayworth late in the afternoon. There was no real town there. It was mostly a rural village with wild pastures used by farmers to raise their sheep. David's car followed a road that went through the wilderness, up and down the hills. Very, very sus, Anna. Yes. Eventually they reached a small old fortress. The car passed through a stone gate and then stopped. Susanna took out a key, unlocked the gate, and stepped inside with David. Uh-huh. Things? Mr. Lands is supposed to be here. Maybe he is out shopping. When you said you lived in the countryside, I was expecting a farmhouse, not a castle. Everything looks clean. Does anyone live in it? Mr. Lands and his wife look after it. They did some extra cleaning just for us. Let's go up to the roof, David. The view there is fantastic. Susanna led David up the stairs to the rooftop. Look, prairie as far as the eye can see. Not even a single tree. The Northern tribes will never catch us by surprise. Doesn't that view look very familiar? It's like a castle in the middle of nowhere. Come to think of it, Susanna, I think I've seen it before. Have you been to Hayworth in the past? Not quite. I remember now. It was one of my visions. King Hroth and Lafir were at the top of a castle. It wasn't just wilderness back then though. There were a lot of green, fields and houses. It was very similar to this view. It was red and now it's green, yes. If this was actually the castle of King Hroth, then the so-called King of the North would be north from here. It could be Edinburgh, or even farther north. Yeah, it's the Scottish. Maybe King Hroth used this forbidden arts to flood the wilderness and turn them into lush fields. When you think about it, with modern technology you can bring water to a desert and make it arable. If you were to become the Devil King, you could use the forbidden arts to cover the world with green. Yeah, it's always the Scots, isn't it? Blame Scotland! Not even King Hroth had that kind of power. Now that we're safe, I suddenly feel tired. Is there a room I can lie down? Oh, I'm so sorry. We've been driving all morning. I should have noticed you'd be tired. Our room should be ready for use. Your room, eh, Susanna? Sus Anna. Sus Anna guided David to her room. It was clean and decorated with flowers. David laid on the bed without even undressing. Meanwhile, Susanna went downstairs to get their luggage. He did not notice falling asleep, but he was awakened by voices coming from outside the window. Warily, he got up, approaching the window. He couldn't believe his eyes. There was a mob of peasants carrying swords, spears and other weapons. Some were shooting arrows, but the shooters were too far away for them to reach him. A man, fully dressed for battle, shouted at David. "We told you to never come back to the castle. Why have you returned? The King of the North will be upon us soon. If you won't leave before he's here, he'll kill us all." The King of the North used his power to subjugate the land. The magic won't work. Look, it's all a barren wasteland now. We chose to live here nonetheless because we didn't want to fight. Leave! Hurry! Peasants surrounding the castle were all shouting at him. David was unable to reply. Then he heard a voice coming from behind him. Loading. Wow. David turned around. There was a large man wielding a sword. Well, you look familiar. So you are the one who has inherited the blood of the Devil King. I am the King of the North. That's a quality face, by the way. The King of the North? How did you come here? With my magical prowess, I am able to go anywhere I want. I wish to test your skills, but it seems death will soon be upon you. I keep hearing that we're supposed to fight, but I don't care about this nonsense. Can't we just lay these old grudges to rest? If the Devil King is revived from your blood, my own bloodline will be severed and I shall be erased from existence. If you truly wish to end this ancient grudge, you must cut off your bloodline. I can't use magic like you do, but the power of the Devil King always emerges to save me. There's no point in fighting. If the Devil King is reborn, I will stand no chance. I must kill you now before it is too late. The King of the North pointed his sword at David and chanted a spell. David collapsed on the floor, writhing in pain while holding his head. Begone, Devil King. You must have thought I could fight with my sword, but you shouldn't have known I could cast spells. By my power, the blood of the man called David should boil. Let the blood of the Devil King be purged from this world. My body burns! I can David scream.wav on command, it's great. Anyway, right. It is almost over. Rest in... what? Curses, it must be that witch Susanna. David felt something cold touching his face, but his entire body was burning, and his head felt like it was splitting apart. That's a paradox. David, hang in there! Susanna was wiping David's head with a towel. Hearing the scream, she was joined by a man and woman shortly after. Mr. Lands, I think he has a fever. He needs medicine. The man hurried downstairs. There was nothing wrong with him, but all of a sudden he has a fever. Could it be a spell? Miss Emily, please bring me some Chamonix. Chamonix, the sorceress water? Does that mean that Mr. David is... Yes, I'll fetch it right away. Emily went downstairs just as Mr. Lands made his return. I'm glad I brought this medicine kit, thinking you might stay here for a while. Yeah, this should bring his fever down. Susanna tried giving David his medicine, but he was gritting his teeth from the pain and wouldn't take it. Inject it into my veins! Emily returned, gasping for breath. She brought a small bottle filled with liquid. Susanna, are these symptoms? This is the Chamonix water your mother made. It's a little old, but it was kept safely in the basement's medicine cabinet. Susanna poured water from the bottle onto a towel, then she began to wipe David's body. David's pain seemed to ease up. He opened his mouth, gasping for air. I think he's safe now. David must have been hit by a northern spell. I agree. Chamonix's water is only effective against northern sorcery. We need to find out the identity of the King of the North before they try to kill him again. King of the North! The Dark Sorcerers are gathering tonight, but they found no information about the King of the North. I'm afraid we won't be able to find him for the time being. There's still hope. The client of those detectives who have been following me should be of the northern tribes. If we can catch them and interrogate them, we may be able to find some clues. David called out Susanna's name as he gasped for air. Susanna hurried to his side as he was regaining consciousness. Susanna, I'm alive. David, you're awake. Oh, I'm so glad. I had another nightmare. The King of the North was there. I thought I'd die for real this time. The King? David, you saw the King of the North? Yes, he looked like a religious person. Yeah, and I hope I never see him again. I'll never forget his face. He tried to kill me with a spell. The King of the North himself can use magic? We never knew about that, so the King of the North of this era is a sorcerer. If he truly is a sorcerer, he'd never show himself openly. Still, he should have other mages under his command. We must find one of them. They probably call themselves the Mages of the North. We should focus our searches on the most famous mages of England. Susanna, who are these people? Oh, I haven't introduced them yet. These are Mr. and Mrs. Lands. They were out for groceries when we arrived. My name is David. I'm sorry to have caused you this much trouble. After exchanging greetings, David felt tired once again and closed his eyes, quickly falling asleep. Susanna lit a candle. The sun went down and it was dark outside. Mr. and Mrs. Lands left the room, but Susanna stayed with David. Yeah, I think it was a rapier or something. It was a dark night and there was no illumination in the wilderness. The few stars in the sky cast the shadow of the castle on the ground where Clark and Vince were lurking. Are you really going inside the castle, Chief? This is trespassing, you know. It's only trespassing if you're caught. 3 cars went inside the castle. Don't you want to know what's going on? Well, yeah, I guess. One thing's for sure, it's not a Lino vision. I saw a middle-aged couple, definitely not part of David's music circle. There's no electricity, so it's only oil lamps and candles in there. At the very least, they won't be able to see my face clearly. The client told us not to go inside though. There's definitely something bad going on, and you heard what our colleagues said about them. Think about it, the client is a fortune teller and they're willing to spend a ton of money on this investigation. That means there's a mastermind behind this. We've come this far, I'm going in there. You stay here and wait for me. Wait here alone in the dark? No way, I'd rather come with you. But let's not go in too deep. Castle gates were not locked so Clark and Vince could enter without issue. Candles were lit over the corridor walls, so they did not need to turn on their flashlights. There's no candles in the other corridors. Maybe this is where they went through. There's only one common room. No point in lighting candles if you're not going that way. Clark and Vince turned right then left. Eventually they reached a closed door. Oh, that door looks familiar. I don't think there's anyone inside. Let's open it. Be ready to run in case there's someone in there. Clark pushed the door gently. It was not locked, but it made a loud creaking noise. I think it leads to the basement. The candles are lit, so someone's been down there. Let's go. Uh-huh. Clark and Vince followed the stairs down. The basement was large, filled with objects. At the end of the path they could see a door, illuminated by candles. Beer kegs! Clark stopped in front of the door. He took a deep breath, then he opened it, cautiously. Hi, Wins, what's up? Love that little Moai sub-icon. Beyond the door there was a dark room, but with a single lit candle, Clark made his way inside. Right then, Clark and Vince were hit on the head with a stick. They fell to the floor. Rip. Meanwhile, David had been nursed back by Susanna. As they sat by a lit candle, they talked about the King of the North. I'm really glad you're feeling better now. I had no idea the King of the North could use magic. Can a spell truly kill a man? I definitely was in pain, but I thought it was just another one of my nightmares. Some spells are similar to hypnosis, but they can be cast on someone from a distance. They require great concentration, so the King of the North must be spent right now. I was having already too many nightmares due to the blood of King Hroth. I'm not sure I can take it if the King of the North is going to give me nightmares as well. If it's impossible to run away from it, maybe you should become the Devil King after all. That would mean killing people from the northern tribes. That would make me a murderer. I'd have to spend the rest of my life on the run from the police. Calm down, David. Being agitated isn't good for your health. Right then, Emily came into the room. She approached Susanna and whispered into her ear. The sorcerers, friends of my mother, have gathered. David, come with us. You can talk to them. You may be able to learn something about the power of magic. I'll come since you asked, but I'm not sure I'd like to become a sorcerer. I'm only an apprentice, but if you became the Devil King, you'd be the leader of all dark sorcerers. Don't let the name fool you. They're all good people. Quote unquote, good people. Susanna held David's hand and led him downstairs. They walked through a dark corridor, lit only by candles, and reached the basement. Clonk. As soon as they walked through the door, 4 men and 1 woman bowed to David. They were not greeting him as the lead vocalist of Vision, but as the Devil King. Susanna approached the table, placed in the middle of the room, and the sorcerers gathered around it. Fireworks are going off outside. David, this is Thomas Simon. This is his wife, Lisa. These are Burrows and Rivas. And this is Greg. Each of them has earned the title of Dark Sorcerer. My name is David. I'm sorry you had to come all this way here just for me. Hold on a minute. Oh, there we go. The Dark Sorcerers live to assist the Devil King. Don't worry about it. David, now let the meeting begin. Let me just save right here, just in case. 1-6. And Greg, yes. David, do you recognize the man in this picture? Have you seen him in one of your dreams? David looked at the photo. He had never seen him before. This is the man who hired those detectives to follow you and your colleagues during your tour of Europe. Mr. Lands has told us about the King of the North. Mr. Lands told us about how the King of the North cast a terrible spell upon you. How did that happen? Where did he come from? Well, in my nightmare, the castle was surrounded by armed peasants yelling at me to leave, and then the King of the North appeared in my room. He must have sent you that nightmare himself in order to appear before you and cast his spell. So the nightmare warding ring was ineffective against the King of the North. Nightmare warding ring? What if next time he sends another nightmare, we also enter the dream world and fight him? There's no guarantee we can defeat him with our magic. If we were to lose, David's life would be forfeit. Yeah, the ring. The King of the North sent a nightmare, entered it and then cast the spell from within. None of us are capable of a similar feat, that is, unless David were to become the Devil King. Our only choice is to find the King of the North and kill him with our weapons. First, we must interrogate those detectives we captured, and find out where their client is. They've been captured? Have they said the name of their client? They wouldn't say, not even with a truth serum. They could be descendants of the northern tribes. Our only choice is to borrow the power of the Devil King and cast a spell to find out. I'm no sorcerer, I can't cast any spells. I've only ever had nightmares and visions. Susanna, help me out here! Oops. They'll be fine. Greg, bring them here. Greg approached the wardrobe in the corner of the room and opened its door. They stuffed them in a wardrobe, did they? He pulled out Clark and Vince, whose hands were tied behind their backs, and brought them over. I had a feeling it would be you lot. Why won't you tell us the name of your client? This is a matter of life and death for us. Is this how you repay us for saving your asses? A detective never reveals the name of his client. I'm a professional. I'm willing to kill you to find out. We could easily find out using the powers of the Devil King, but that would leave you crippled for life. The Devil King, huh? We've been hearing that name a lot, but we still don't know who that is. How about you introduce us? I'm telling you, we know nothing about this King of the North, or the Devil King business. Chief, I think she's serious. I don't want the Devil King to curse me. I don't know anything about them, but you know the client. Just tell them. Shut the hell up. I'll never betray a client. It's a matter of pride. Go ahead and kill me if you want. And don't bother with truth serums. I'm trained to resist them. Yeah, because he's part of Interpol. David, we need your help. Please drink this. It's a sleeping medicine. Once your blood has been quelled, I'll use a spell to draw the power of the Devil King and get everything we need to know from them. David's book. You mean you can use magic? Susanna, did you get close to me because of the blood that flows in my veins? No, I got close to you because I love you. I've had dreams about you ever since I was born. I've loved you all my life. The only reason I've been hiding the truth was to protect you from the King of the North. Besides, what if I told you about the Devil King during our first meeting? You would have thought I was crazy and stayed away from me. Please, you have to trust me. Drink this. In truth, David was not particularly surprised by the revelation. It was true that if not for Susanna, he would have been killed by the King of the North, or possibly sent to a psychiatric ward. However, he knew that using the spell to force the truth out of the detectives would cripple them, or even kill them outright. They're part of the northern tribes. King Hroth said that the sight of their blood would awaken the Devil King. You wouldn't have to fear the King of the North any longer. David believed Susanna's words, but the idea of killing the detectives made him hesitate. Branch! Right, so put this on 6. Okay. So, we can either choose to take the pills, or we can choose not to take the pills. Choices. Let's take the pills! Ay, ay, ay. Load screen time. Come on. Do 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 do. God, it takes so long to load. It's okay though. It's alright. How's everyone doing anyway? Frickin' end of the week. Gotta go back to work tomorrow. Feel pretty sleepy at the moment. Should probably get an early night tonight. If I can stop playing World of Horror. Alright, here it comes. Clark and Vince gasped as David took the pills. Chief, they're actually doing the sorcery stuff. What's gonna happen to us? It's just hypnosis. When they chant their spells, think of something else and you'll be fine. Hypnosis is especially effective when you're scared. At any rate, you don't actually know anything. You'll be fine.
Are you kidding me?
Holy shit, Anne, thanks for the gigantic raid. How are you doing? Thank you for the raid. Under the effects of the pills, David's consciousness faded. Then Susanna turned to Clark and Vince. Dasiati, what's up? Zero, what's up? Yay, Carrots. Doom Noob. Anne, thanks for the raid, Anne. Hope you had a good stream. It's a lot of people. We're just coming to the end of one branch, actually, so you're just in time. Yeah, so under the effects of the pills, David's consciousness faded. Then Susanna turned to Clark and Vince. We're ready to summon the power of the Devil King. He will die the moment I chant the spell. Are you going to tell us about your client or not? You think I'm going to fall for this bullshit? Go ahead and do your magic trick. See if I care. Susanna turned towards David and started chanting the spell. Vince covered his ears. Then David opened his eyes, staring at Clark and Vince. Susanna was still chanting. Ah, my body, it burns! My hands, my legs, I can't move! That's a good face, by the way. That's a quality face. What the hell? This isn't hypnosis. Vince, run! Ah, burns! Clark, what is the client's name? You will tell us his address. The Devil King orders you. I'll never tell. What kind of detective would I be if I told you John Jeff's name? Well, you just told him. What does Jeffs do? Where is he? I'm burning hell. I don't know that Jeff's a fortune teller. I can't tell you that he works in the back of the Gucci store on Bond Street. Welp. I don't know anything. Help! Blood! Blood on my hands, my face! It won't stop pouring out! I'll tell you everything I know. Just make it stop! Quality faces, by the way. My blood's gushing out. Help! I'll tell you about the client. Please! Too late. The clothes of Clark and Vince were soaked red. Blood was overflowing from their shoes, spilling onto the floor. As the blood flowed from the top of their heads, they looked like red ogres of folklore. They turned to look at one another and collapsed, writhing in agony. Clark and Vince were literally drowning in a pool of their own blood. Eventually, not even a drop of blood was left in their veins. In death, they had found the relief they longed for. Excluding Susanna and the unconscious David, the other sorcerers in the room had retreated into a corner, terrified. They're dead. What frightens you so? You can't call yourself dark sorcerers and be afraid of a little blood? Susanna scolded Mr. and Mrs. Lance. Then she turned to David and chanted a spell to wake him up. David, look at the floor. Your power has drained the blood out of them. If they are with the northern tribes, the sight of their blood will awaken the power of the Devil King. David nodded and turned towards the floor. They're dead! Who could do such a terrible thing? When he realized that everyone was staring at him, he began to scream in a panic. You mean to say I did it? There's no way. I'd never kill someone. I'd never do something so terrible. This is but a small portion of the power that lies dormant in your blood. If you tapped into the full power of the Devil King, you could change the world. I don't want it. I never wanted this horrible power. Yes, guts. All of the guts. It's too late, David. Now that you've seen the blood of the northern tribes, the power of the Devil King will manifest itself. Then you'll be able to kill the King of the North. Touch your devil power. I'd rather he killed me than become a murderer. Please don't make me kill other people. Susanna, you knew this would happen. That's why you gave me those pills. You said you loved me, but all you really wanted was the power of the Devil King, didn't you? I'm a murderer. You tricked me into becoming one. What am I going to do? What am I? Ah! David screamed, clutching his head before dropping to the floor, motionless. Yeah, exactly. That's all women want. The sight of the two corpses in the pool of blood was too much for him. He had a mental breakdown and fainted. He's not used to these sights like we are. It must have been too much for him. Please bring him to my room. He hasn't recovered from the King of the North spell. He'll feel better after a good night's sleep. By then, the power of the Devil King will have manifested itself. What do we do about their client, this Jeffs? Hunt him down and kill him. He must know about the King of the North. He probably knows about me as well as about Mr. and Mrs. Lance. We'll stay here while the rest of you go capture him. He might run away once he realizes he can't get in contact with the detectives. We must go now. Take care of David while we're gone. Will do. I'll keep watch from the roof with a rifle. I won't let anyone approach before you're back. Greg and the others left in a car. Helped by Lance, Susanna brought David back to her room. They laid him on the bed and he immediately fell asleep. David was sleeping like a corpse. Well, that's a good way of putting it. Mr. and Mrs. Lance went to prepare for their guard duty. Susanna also left the room. She was gathering the tools she needed to cast a spell that would protect David from the King of the North. After a while, David came to his senses. He was alone in the room. He looked around. The room was illuminated by candles. This is Susanna's room, so I was sleeping, but what about those corpses? Was it another nightmare? Susanna's a dark sorceress. She killed them to revive the blood of the Devil King in my veins. Those two detectives and their clients are northern tribesmen. Nightmare or not, something's about to happen. I must talk to Susanna. If she really is a dark sorceress, then... David felt uneasy about seeing Susanna. The nightmare caused him to feel different about her. He lit a lamp and walked out of the room. He had not learned the layout of the castle yet. He went downstairs, entering the dining room. The candles in the dining room were lit, but Susanna was not there. Excuse me. He returned to the corridor. For some reason, he recalled his nightmare. In my dream, at the end of the corridor, there was another path to the right. As if to confirm whether it was merely a dream, David walked down the corridor. Then he saw light coming from his right. The moment he turned right, he felt as if he was back in his nightmare. Candles were lit along the walls. At the end of the corridor was a door. The same door he saw in his nightmare. In my nightmare, beyond that door, there were stairs that led to the basement. Am I still dreaming? David ran down the corridor and stopped in front of the door. Then he opened it. As he feared, there were stairs that led to a basement lit by candles. David walked down the stairs. Clump, clump, clump. When he reached the door, he stopped to think. If this is like my nightmare, beyond this door would be two men lying in a pool of blood, Susanna and the sorcerers. David was afraid to open the door. He would rather go back, but something compelled him to see the truth with his own eyes. Save! This is a branch. Okay. He decided to return to the room and wait for Susanna. Probably for the best. Yeah, there's a couple of ending branches here. So I've made a couple of saves just to be absolutely sure. Excuse me. Are you tracking which ones I'm selecting at the moment? Ooh. Glasses are pinching on the bridge of my nose at the moment. No, you've seen this before, G. I'm just playing it again. Click, 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 click. Tick, 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 tick. Loading. Yeah, I just felt like playing it again. It's a good game. I actually wanted to play it for Spooktober, but I ended up getting sucked into Fatal Frame, so didn't really have any time left in October to actually play it. Alright. Yeah, there's a couple of saves going on here and there then. David decided to go back. He was afraid that this nightmare might become reality if he entered the basement. He left in a hurry, as if to run away from the door, and made his way to the door that led to the courtyard. This might be the sorceress castle I saw in my nightmares, David thought. If Susanna is a sorceress like in my nightmares, she'll try and make me a murderer. Sorry, Susanna, but I must leave. David opened the door and stepped out into the courtyard. Stars dotted the sky. It was as bright as a full moon night. David walked out of the castle gates and ran down the starlit road. Out in the wilderness there were no landmarks. He had no idea how far he had run. Still, he had to keep going, as long as he could breathe. By the time the castle was a small silhouette in the distance, he heard the sound of a car's engine. Then he saw headlights flickering in the wilderness. It's heading for the castle. Is it the sorcerers, or is it the northern tribesmen? David looked for a place to hide, but there were no trees in sight. He could only run across the prairie, getting as far away from the road as possible. The sound of the car's exhaust was getting closer. The grass around his feet was illuminated by the headlights, and he could see his shadow in front of him. The car slowed down behind him. He could do nothing else. He stopped running and the car stopped as well. A person got out of the car and approached him. It was a man. When he saw him, David started sweating. He looks just like the man that I saw in my nightmare. When they showed me a photo of the detective's client, David thought, is he Jeff's? Why was he going to Susanna's castle? Once he came closer, he had no more doubts. Jeffs glared at David with a look of suspicion. I was wondering what kind of fool would run alone in the night, and it turned out to be David himself. What are you doing here? Who are you? Jeffs. I lost contact with the detectives I sent to investigate you, so I came here myself. I certainly wasn't expecting to find you out here. I am a northern sorcerer at the service of the King of the North. The Devil King and the Dark Sorcerers are the sworn enemies of the northern tribes. You must die before the blood that flows in your veins is awakened. I don't want to fight the northern tribes, that's why I ran away. Let's stop fighting. I don't care about this ancient history. You think the Devil King would abandon his quest for revenge just because you want nothing to do with it? Don't make me laugh. You're all insane. You, Susanna, everyone. You're a bunch of psychopaths. That's a big knife. Before David could push Jeffs away, he pulled out a dagger. Drop that thing. If you try to take my life, the power of the Devil King will manifest and you'll die. I'm serious. Ha, you won't scare me like that. I know more about the Devil King than you do. Don't underestimate a northern sorcerer. Jeffs thrust his dagger towards David. He tried to dodge, but his assailant was skilled. Then he felt a sharp pain and he cried out. Why am I getting encoding weird? Oh, click. Hold on a minute. I'm getting encoding overloaded. While in agony, he thought he heard Susanna's voice. Susanna, help me! David, wake up! It's me, Susanna! David opened his eyes. Susanna's face was in front of his. She was holding his hand. What happened to Jeffs? Why are you asking about him? Greg and the others are on the way to capture him. If everything goes well, they should bring him here tonight. It's casting a spell on my computer, yeah. He wasn't sure what she was talking about, but then he realized he was lying in bed. What time is it? It's 4 PM. You were sleeping like a log, so I figured I'd let you rest. Did you have a nightmare? What about Mr. Lance? He's on the roof with his wife, keeping an eye out for the northern tribesmen. David, is there something wrong? Does your body hurt? My body feels heavy, weak. I feel like crap. David finally realized that what he saw was just another one of his dreams. I get it now, David thought. After I took those pills, the detectives were killed. If they catch Jeffs, they'll kill him too. That's why I had that nightmare. I thought you'd obtain the powers of the Devil King, but it seems they weren't northern tribesmen. But Jeffs is one of them, I'm sure of it. His blood will definitely awaken the Devil King. The memory of the two corpses lying in a pool of their own blood made David feel sick. Are you alright? You must be weak because you haven't had anything to eat yet. I'll go fetch something for you. Wait for me, okay? Once Susanna left the room, David thought once again about the two dead men in the basement. Even though I didn't kill them directly, I feel responsible. If I were to cause more deaths, my heart wouldn't take it. But I can't leave the castle either. I can't face the northern tribesmen alone. Greg will come back with Jeff sooner or later. What am I going to do then? Just sit for a spell? And chill? Don't do a thing? Shit's happening anyway. David. David wanted to cry. He curled up into a ball under the covers, but then the voice of King Hroth spoke to him. David, why do you worry? You must simply follow your destiny. Once you obtain the powers of the Devil King, all of your worries shall disappear. Can't you see the pain in my heart? It's because I'm following this destiny that I'm suffering like this. Susanna and the Dark Sorcerers are ready to give their lives to protect you, and yet you only worry about yourself. If you fail to defeat the King of the North, the Northern Tribesmen will kill them all. They will kill Susanna. Susanna, the woman who chose to become a sorceress out of love for you. Are you willing to throw her feelings away out of fear? Are you not ashamed of your cowardice, David? If you cannot run away from your destiny, you should run headlong towards it. Lead the fight against the King of the North. Maybe I was wrong, David thought. Maybe I was only worrying about myself. If I'm destined to kill, then I should ready myself rather than curl up into a ball and cry. Yeah, quit being weak, Shinji. David made up his mind and his worries disappeared. His frustration was quelled and he was finally calm. King Hroth, I'm going to realize your ancient wish. If it makes Susanna happy, I'll annihilate the Northern Tribes, become the Devil King and sever the blood of the King of the North. After his proclamation, David felt himself filled with the same power and confidence that he had during his concerts. He was filled with determination. Kappa. Confidence is flowing from the honeypot. Oh god. His mind made up, David jumped out of the bed. In the dark room, the candles flickered. What's the matter, David? You literally jumped out of the bed. Did you have another nightmare? David thought his conversation with King Hroth had lasted only a few minutes, but looking outside the windows he noticed it was night. You fell asleep while I was cooking. What did you dream about this time? I was scolded by King Hroth and now I see everything clearly. I feel that by fighting against my fate, I'd only end up hurting you. If I'm destined to kill, then so be it. Are you sure you won't regret it? I won't. The moment I accepted my destiny, I started feeling the same way I felt during a concert. Strong. Confident. Determined. I'm happy to hear that. Greg and the others are waiting for us in the basement. Greg, you say? Oh, they must have brought Jeff's. What time is it? It's 10 PM. Are you sure you'll be fine? Jeff's is a northern sorcerer. A moment of weakness and you could die. You have to trust me, Susanna. Don't ask me to run away now. I'm sorry. Silly me, having doubts just now that your mind's made up. David and Susanna went down to the basement. Inside the room was Jeff's, hands tied behind his back, surrounded by Greg and the other Dark Sorcerers. When he saw his face, David thought back to his dream. He looks identical, he thought. This is the first time I meet him in person, but he's just like the man I saw in my dream. How was that possible? Jeff stared at David in disbelief. How are you alive? I'm sure the dagger pierced your heart. So you were behind that nightmare. Susanna, he's a sorcerer. In fact, I think his sorcery is second only to the King of the North itself. Himself, rather. Indeed, I am a northern sorcerer. The fact you survived my incubus curse could only mean you've manifested the power of the Devil King. If only I had confirmed you carried his blood earlier. No matter, the King of the North will succeed where I've failed. Now tell me, Susanna, why have you brought me here? Gay bald. We want you to tell us the King of the North's whereabouts. We already know you're not going to tell us willingly, so we're going to cast a confession spell. Besides, your spells are too dangerous. We're going to make sure you can never cast them again. Your spells may have been effective on a pair of detectives, but I am a northern sorcerer. Do you really believe you will succeed? You may be a northern sorcerer, but we are the dark sorcerers who've been guarding the bloodline of the Devil King for generations. We will not fail. Take the pills, David. We'll handle the rest. Take the drugs, David. I don't need them anymore, Susanna. I'm confident I can bring out the power of the Devil King just by listening to your incantation. The moment I stopped fearing the sight of blood, I've started feeling the power of the Devil King more and more. We are the dark sorcerers who say "Nee." Sensing his overwhelming energy, Susanna dropped the pills and began chanting her spell. Jeff stared at Susanna and then scoffed at her. What a fool you are, Susanna. You have failed to notice the change with my consciousness, as I thought you dark sorcerers are nothing but buffoons. David's body was heating up from Susanna's spell. At the same time, he saw the heat engulfing Jeff's. Susanna ignored Jeff's taunts and kept chanting. Even by borrowing David's power, your sorcery amounts to nothing. You will never be able to control my consciousness. Her forehead was beaded with sweat. She was starting to lose her nerve from her spell's lack of effect. I've had enough. Have a taste of a real spell. Jeff's chanted a spell and Susanna's face turned red, as if she had walked into an oven. Unable to withstand the pain, Susanna stopped chanting. Gasping for air, she glared at Jeff's. Only the King of the North can repel a dark spell. I'm afraid the King of the North is possessing him. He finally realized it. Now let us put an end to this charade. Blood gushed out of Susanna's face, then from her hands, her feet, she collapsed to the floor. The other dark sorcerers started fleeing in panic, but the spell of the King of the North spared no one. In a matter of seconds, they were all lying on the floor, writhing in a pool of their own blood. Crying in anger, Dave jumped at Jeff's, choking him. With his hands tied behind his back, he could not resist. His consciousness filled with rage, David was seemingly impervious to the King of the North's death curse. His fingers gouged Jeff's throat. That's a good face. Jeff slumped down to the floor. Unable to speak, his life was leaving his body. David stared at Jeff's blood. Then he pointed his bloodied hand south, chanting, no, howling a spell. David, now the Devil King, could easily sense the flow of the spell of the King of the North. His counterspell, fueled by vengeance, followed the magical waves back to the source. He chanted the spell with all of his might. His figure overlapped with that of King Proth, a demon obsessed with vengeance. The next day a large crowd had gathered at St. Radford's Church in Stratford, south of the castle where these events have occurred. They were mourning the death of Archbishop Mellis. A few days later, Alan, Andrew and Martin were talking to the chief physician of the Heath Mary Mental Hospital in the suburbs of London. Give us straight, Doctor. Is David ever going to wake up? Mr. David lived through something so traumatic that he was only able to cope by shutting himself in. It would take a shock of similar magnitude to bring him back. At this point I cannot say when or if he will be able to leave our clinic. Damn it, I can't even imagine what he went through during this vacation. I saw the photos of the scene, they were straight out of a horror movie. If they told me it was a picture of hell, I would believe it. Knock it off, Alan. I lost 20 pounds since I saw the pictures. If it was me in David's place, I would have died of shock. Reportedly, the police found 2 more bodies in the castle's courtyard. It's a complete mystery, but tell me, what's going to happen to Alinovision? Out of business until we find a new vocalist, but I have a feeling we'll never find someone like David. With that said, Alino Vision won't break up as long as David's alive. We'll wait until he wakes up and climbs onto the stage again. You said it, I'm a fan of his too. I feel if we were to disband, we'd never be able to listen to his songs again. Feel the same way. Come hell or high water, I want to keep Alino Vision alive. Anything to hear David sing again. His rage spent, David lost consciousness and never woke up. Was his mind unable to cope with the mighty powers of the Devil King? Had the sight of Susanna's gruesome death been too much for his heart? The end! Yeah, he got committed in this one. We still have access to this branch though, since we've got saves. We just need to track back a little bit and see where we are. Yeah, I did all the endings in the past. There's like quite a few of them actually. I think there's like 6 or 7, something like that. Yeah, because we've already come across a couple of the major branches already. I've got save files down for each one of them. Like for this branch at least. If you want to see the other ones, you've got to like basically go back at least 2 hours of game in order to get to the other branches. To World of Horror. Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking of playing that, but probably not tonight. I actually need to copy my save file over because I've unlocked quite a few other things on it. I actually finished the run with was it the medical history backstory, which I think is the hardest one to do. So everything else should be straightforward from now on. And Zaki, what's up? Yeah, it's going alright. You've missed. I think you've missed pretty much all of Mirrors. Ending time, right? Yeah, so you get the credits here. David! Took a while to load the credits up though. I like how the characters have their own staff role. You get to see all the characters as well though. Yeah, I'll just let the credits roll and then we'll load up another branch up. We've got plenty of time to actually go through some of them on this one. It'll take too long to do the other major path. That was pretty good though. I said the game isn't actually that long. Like it's about 5 to 6 hours at the very least to get through one of the branches fully. If you put down proper saves, like on each of the major junctions, you could probably see the entire game in like maybe 9 to 10, probably. It's an 11 out of 10 game. It's actually really good. If you've not played it before, it's definitely worth checking out. It's a little bit mental in places actually. It's very linear though. It's very linear, so for the most part there are only like a handful of major like story branches, but otherwise you can see most of it pretty quickly. Yeah, if you didn't take so many detours around France, it might be a bit faster, yeah. Should probably be at the end of this now, I guess. Mirrors. title screen is so cool though. Right, I think that's basically when it stops. Oh, thank you for the resub. Let me just reboot this. Right, so load save. Let's see now. Let's go for some of the quick branches on this one then. Let's go with this one. Because I think at this branch we can choose to go into the basement. Yes. Okay. Do 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 do. No, come on. It does take a while to load though. Come on. I know there's a lot of data to load. Same thing about this game, it does take a while. I know, right? The thing is, most of this game has to download off the CD onto floppy for it to run properly. The music is streamed directly off the CD though. Right, so we should be outside the door here, I guess. Yeah, so helped by Lance, Susanna brought David back to her room. They laid him on the bed and he immediately fell asleep. David was sleeping like a corpse. Mr. and Mrs. Lance went home to prepare for their guard duty. Susanna also left the room. She was gathering the tools she needed to cast a spell that would protect David from the King of the North. After a while, David came to his senses. He was alone in the room. He looked around. The room was illuminated by candles. This is Susanna's room, so I was sleeping. But what about those corpses? Was it another nightmare? Susanna's a dark sorceress. She killed them to revive the blood of the Devil King in my veins. Those two detectives and their clients are northern tribesmen. Nightmare or not, something's about to happen. I must talk to Susanna. If she really is a dark sorceress, then... David felt uneasy about seeing Susanna. The nightmare caused him to feel different about her. He lit a lamp and walked out of the room. He had not learned the layout of the castle yet. He went downstairs, entering the dining room. Clip, clap, clop. Candles in the dining room were lit, but Susanna was not there. Yeah, so this ending branch is where we get to the door. We went to look for Susanna, but this time we're going to go in. He returned to the corridor. For some reason he recalled his nightmare. In my dream at the end of the corridor there was another path to the right. As if to confirm whether it was merely a dream, David walked down the corridor. Then he saw a light coming from his right. The moment he turned right, he felt as if he was back in his nightmare. Candles were lit along the walls. At the end of the corridor was a door. The same door he saw in his nightmare. In my nightmare, beyond that door, there were stairs that led to the basement. Am I still dreaming? David ran down the corridor and stopped in front of the door. Then he opened it. As he feared, there were stairs that led to a basement lit by candles. David walked down the stairs. When he reached the door, he stopped to think. If this is like my nightmare, beyond this door would be two men lying in a pool of blood, Susanna and the sorcerers. David was afraid to open the door. He would rather go back, but something compelled him to see the truth with his own eyes. Alright, Ben, I'll catch you later. Have a good night. Thanks for watching. He decided to open the door. He opened the door. Excuse me. Just suddenly screams. It was just like his nightmare. The floor was covered in blood, which was wetting David's feet. At the center of the grisly pool were the corpses of two men. Unlike his nightmare, neither Susanna nor the sorcerers were present. Instead, there was a young man standing beside the corpses. David, these two people you killed were not northern tribesmen. The Devil King must witness the blood of the northern tribes. Who is he? David thought. He knows about the northern tribes. Could he be the Devil King? Are you a dark sorcerer, or are you the Devil King? Me, the Devil King? Surely you must know he lurks in your veins, waiting to witness the blood of the northern tribes. What are you afraid of? How could you cry out at the mere sight of commoners' blood? That happened in a dream, David thought. Nobody else should know about it, so this must be another dream. This is a dream, isn't it? There's only two men who always torment me in my dreams, the King of the North and the Devil King. If you're not the Devil King, then you must be the King of the North. I am not the King of the North either. You're trying to convince yourself you're inside a nightmare because you have killed two men, but I assure you, this is reality. Touch those corpses, taste their blood, face the truth. Who are you? Show yourself! Can you not tell? I am the man who longs to acquire the power of the Devil King in order to kill the King of the North and live happily ever after with Susanna. I am David. You are David? Quit screwing around. Susanna loves me, and I love her. Why do you want to make her happy? Do you really love her as you claim you do? Do you not feel love for Susanna the Sorceress? No, you do not feel love for Susanna the Sorceress, but I am you. I am the David who can love Susanna unconditionally. The man turned towards David. David looked at the man's face. He tried to speak, but no words would leave his throat. No words would leave his mouth. That is because that man's face was the same face he always saw in the mirror. I am David. Unless the pathetic, cowardly David disappears, Alino Vision is going to disband. If you're David, then who am I? You are David, and I am David. The only difference is that I will never stop loving Susanna, while your love for her is dying down. The other David approached him, holding a knife. David was terrified by his other self. He tried to run away, but his legs would not move. The other David raised the knife. Yeah, we're getting a lot of David scream.wav at the moment. Paralyzed by fear, David closed his eyes and screamed. Then he heard Susanna's voice, coming from far away. Susanna, help me! David, wake up! David felt his body being shaken and he opened his eyes. It was Susanna. I'm in bed, David thought. It was another dream. Boy's gonna get committed soon. There's nothing to fear now, David. We did what we had to do to survive. He did not understand the meaning of Susanna's words. What do you mean by, what we had to do. We killed the two detectives. We had no other choice if we wanted to awaken the power of the Devil King. So it wasn't a nightmare, but Susanna, those two were not northern tribesmen. But what? They weren't? It's going to be alright. Greg and the others captured their client, Jeffs. He's in the basement. He is definitely a northern tribesman. Come on, let's go see him. Don't tell me that you want to kill him as well? I don't want to kill anyone else. Susanna, let's run away together. We could go to Japan. Surely the King of the North can't reach us there. No, he'd never stop hunting us. We need to kill him. If we miss this chance, our children would never be safe. I saw it in my dream. The Devil King will kill me and reincarnate as another David. How could you try to revive him knowing that I'll be gone? You saw it in a dream? My mother never said anything about that. When the blood of the Devil King is revived, you'll obtain his power. That's it. Now come. No, I won't. I don't want to be a murderer. Besides, if I see the blood of the Northern Tribesmen, I'll become the Devil King. I'll stop being me. You're coming with me, David. They're all waiting for you. Susanna pulled David out of the room. The corridor was bright as if the night had passed. Why do you want me to kill people, Susanna? You never loved me, did you? You only ever wanted the power of the Devil King. I'm not coming with you. David shook Susanna off and fled in a direction opposite to the basement. He heard Susanna calling out to him, but she did not seem to be following him. David ran down the hallway. He kept running, trying to reach the wall he could see ahead. However, he was not getting any closer to it, as if he was simply stomping his feet on the spot. He was getting tired. He stopped running and looked back. Nobody was chasing him. He made his way back and stopped, dumbfounded. The wall he'd been trying so hard to reach was right in front of him. There was a door in it. David pushed the door without hesitation. With a creaking noise, it opened. When he saw the room, he was left speechless. It was the same room he'd been sleeping in. Every item, every piece of furniture was in the same place. Even his own luggage was there. As if sleepwalking, he made his way inside. When I left the room, Susanna didn't chase me, David thought. Maybe I'm under the effects of a hypnotic spell. I ran so much, but I'm back where I started. The Theseus ship problem, I believe, states that you change things on a body so much it stops being the original body. I think the original idea is that the ship of Theseus in a museum keeps getting renovated like over and over again to the point where all of the bits are new. Is it actually still the ship of Theseus? Yeah, exactly. That's probably the easier way to explain it. If you replace all the parts of something, is it still the same thing as before? That also extends to the human body as well, because the human body is constantly regenerating cells to the point where the body is no longer the same as it was like many years ago because of all of the cells are different. Anyway, David felt a presence and turned towards the entrance. It was dark outside the room, with only candles breaking the darkness. Suddenly a bolt of lightning lit up the corridor, a sound so loud that it felt like the heavens themselves had split. Then there was a figure in front of the entrance. David, I have come for you. Come with me to the basement and witness the blood of that man. As the lightnings kept flashing, David was able to see the face of the man. It was the other David, the one he met in the basement. If you're the real David, why don't you go to the basement? Why do I have to go? Because there should not be two Davids. Only by witnessing the blood of the northern tribes will we become one. If you will not do so, then you must vanish. His other self approached him, brandishing a knife. David tried to dodge the knife, but its aim was true. It pierced his heart. David's scream echoed throughout the room. Just let the game scream in this case. Then he opened his eyes. It was another nightmare, David thought. Is this reality? Or am I still dreaming? He was losing his mind thinking about it. He decided to lie on the bed and close his eyes, trying to calm down. Whoop. You are trying to kill one of my tribesmen. My curse may have failed, but now that I'm here, I shall run my sword through your heart. The King of the North appeared in his room. He approached David, brandishing his sword. David stood up, looking for a chance to flee. When the King of the North had lowered his guard, he made his move. But then he heard King Hroth's voice inside his head. You cannot defy fate, David. If you wish to defeat the King of the North, you must witness the blood of the northern tribes. Without the powers of the Devil King, the King of the North will kill you. The one who stands before you is but a shadow. Focus your eyes on the sword and he will not be able to kill you. Go to the basement. Susanna is waiting for you. Hurry. The King of the North aimed his sword at David's chest. At the last moment he was able to dodge the strike. Then he tackled his assailant. He had expected some kind of impact, but the King of the North must have been an illusion. He passed through him, tumbling into the corridor. In a frenzy, he hurried down the stairs. Fearing that the sword could pierce his back at any moment, he kept running down the corridor. At the end, he turned right and reached the door at the end, where he stopped. It's the door that leads to the basement, David thought. Did the Devil King lead me here? No, I can't open it. When he turned around intent on going back, he saw a knife right before his eyes. You have come this far, why turn back? You must go to the basement, David. Do it or I will kill you. David shook off the knife, pushing his other self away, and ran away. He could think of nothing else. He had to run. As he approached the dining room, he saw the King of the North, sword in hand, coming down the stairs. And so David ran. He kept running. He eventually reached the door that led to the courtyard. He opened the door and jumped outside without even stopping to look. It was dark outside the castle, stars dotting the sky. David looked around and his heart almost gave out from the shock. This isn't the garden, he thought. It's the same town from my nightmares. Either I'm dreaming or this is an illusion created by magic. On the verge of a mental breakdown, David screamed at the empty town. As if to respond to his cry, a terrifying, murderous intent swept over him. David was shivering, as if he'd been bathed in cold water. He could not stop there. He had to keep running through the town before the source of that bloodlust reached him. He knew the way. as he had been in this town multiple times in his nightmares. If I go this way, the path turns to the left, then it should go downhill. In the basement. The one that they captured is still in the basement. And if I turn right and take the next left downhill, I should get to a road where you can see the castle. If it's like my nightmares, I should be able to reach the castle. The castle. Come to think of it, it was very similar to Susanna's castle. You're just running back to the castle in this case.
There was just like an entire wall of dick.
Thanks for the raid, Golden Juggernaut. Forgetting about the threat hunting him, David ran through the town from his memories. How's it going? Thank you for the raid. Hopefully you had a good stream. Then across the wilderness, he could see the castle in the distance. Was the castle from my nightmares Susanna's castle? Was I fated to come here? The moment he stepped into the wilderness, David felt dizzy. Yeah, we're currently playing Mirrors. We're actually coming to the end of a couple of branches here, so we're getting some endings. Game's pretty cool though. It's not the first time I've played it, but it's pretty good. Definitely recommend it. When he opened his eyes, David was standing in front of Susanna's room. He had been transported from the wilderness to the castle in an instant. He opened the door and he found Susanna there. I've been waiting for you, David. Come on, we have to go to the basement. Everyone's worried because you've been taking so long. Hurry, David, you must witness the blood of that man before the Star of Darkness leaves the planet. Susanna grasped his hand tightly. Enough of this, I don't want to kill anyone. He's already dead though. All of a sudden the other David appeared at his side. Susanna, there is no choice. We must kill the other David. There cannot be two Davids. The other David approached him, brandishing a knife. Oh, you're playing Brave Blade? Yeah, it's pretty good. Let go of me, Susanna. I must run. If I don't run, he's trying to kill me. David tried to pry Susanna's fingers open, but they were stiff as iron and would not budge. The other David raised the knife. Do I know where to find Chaos Heat on MAME? You mean the ROM? How many dreams is this guy going through at the moment? Jeez. This is the second one. The game files. So there's probably a few places you can find it if you're looking for it. The CHDs are important, but you do need the actual ROMs. You can probably go to I forgot what the name of the website is. Yeah, there's a couple. Just remind me on Discord and I'll send you I'll try and find the links for them. Before he could feel any pain, everything went dark. Did he faint before the knife struck him? He was falling into an abyss of pure darkness. Yeah, I mean, this is like 3 or 4 dreams in a row he's having at the moment. David was lying in a hospital bed. Susanna was at his side. Tell me, doctor, will he get any better? Susanna was talking to a doctor from the mental hospital David had been recovering in. She'd been taking care of him all this time. He said he's been dreaming for a month now. What's going to happen to him? As you can see from this EEG, his brain activity is abnormal. See how many ripples there are? His brainwaves are in complete disarray. This is the kind of pattern caused by fear, a nightmare perhaps, but normally the shock should make you wake up instantly. It's as if he's secluded himself in the dream world in order to escape from reality. Sometimes celebrities can't cope with their popularity. Maybe he just wants to be alone. Though these violent brainwaves are not desirable, the silver lining is that even in the worst case scenario, he won't fall into a vegetative state. Doctor, is he able to hear me while he sleeps? While his EEG is calm, he is sound asleep and he won't be able to hear you. He should be able to hear you when his brainwaves are spiking. I must inform you, however, that it will only be a fleeting memory to him. I understand how you feel, Miss Susanna, but please take care of yourself as well. This kind of condition requires a lot of time and patience. With that, the doctor left. Alone with David, Susanna moved closer to his ear and spoke to him, caressing her belly. Dun dun dun! David, our baby's growing well. Please wake up soon. I want the three of us to live together. David did not react, but Susanna felt like she heard a voice. And so my bloodline shall carry over. Well done, Susanna. I shall return to the Star of Darkness and rest. I look forward to my return 300 years from now. It's the voice of King Hroth. Once he returns to the Star of Darkness, David will wake up, I'm sure of it. Excited for David's imminent awakening, Susanna started replying to the pile of letters the fans sent David during his stay at the hospital. Things very clearly happened, yes. Excuse me. Oh, gotta stretch. TLDR, pills bad, yes. Oh dear god. I've got to wait for the credits to actually start loading before I can reset it, otherwise it'll corrupt the data. We're gonna go back a save file though, to the point where we have a choice between killing or not killing the two detectives, because there are some more endings to have a look at. Yes, on emulator. It's because it's currently copying everything to the virtual floppies at the moment. This game's pretty cool though. The endings are like kind of whack, as you've probably noticed. Brilliant little game though. Hell yeah, real virtual hardware hours. Yeah, so I'm thinking the next game to play will be Possessioner on PC-88, because we have lost the VODs for those. Probably not until Tuesday though. Because I do want to play a little bit of World of Horror tomorrow. Yes. Slot 6. Yes, with Textractor. There is no English patch, unfortunately. I have played it before, but the only thing is I lost all the VODs with the murdering of my previous channel, so I've got to redo all of them. Possessioner and Armist actually are probably the two that I want to replay before I actually go back to anything else. What's the next goal of World of Horror? To finish everything. Because I've done all of the itty-bitty achievements. The only achievements I have remaining are to complete the different backgrounds or to complete the different challenges. And that's it. I basically spent like a couple of hours yesterday and about half an hour today just cleaning up the rest of the achievements. I'm sitting at about 80% done. So we'll probably play a little bit of World of Horror tomorrow, and then we'll start playing Possessioner on Tuesday. Because it's such a good game. I freaking love Possessioner. I think it's really cool. Armist, unfortunately, is a lot longer to play because it doesn't do what Possessioner does. It's one of those games where it actually removes options once you've actually gone through the entire list of them. Armist doesn't, so you're basically going through all of them over and over again to see if they repeat. And then there's that PC-88 RPG that I bookmarked in the that big book of computer RPGs that we were looking through the other day. And we saw it, I was like, that looks like a nice RPG. It's apparently in English as well, which is interesting, so I need to go dig that out and see if I've actually got it ready. And, we should have a little bit of fun this month with some PC-98 stuff. Because it's been a while. And World of Horrors kind of got me in the mood to play some of it again. As soon as they walked through the door, 4 men and 1 woman bowed to David. They were not greeting him as the lead vocalist of Leno Vision, but as the Devil King. Susanna approached the table placed in the middle of the room and the sorcerers gathered around it. David, this is Thomas Simon. This is his wife, Lisa. These are Burroughs and Rivas. And this is Greg. Each one of them has earned the title of Dark Sorcerer. Greg. My name is David. I'm sorry you had to come all this way here just for me. Oh, David has to speak. Yeah, so that's a bit of a quirky thing in this one. You actually have to say that again so that you can actually access Susanna's thing. Dark Sorcerer Greg, yes. Yeah, I'm not surprised that's the case, Energy. Bro has an emote of Thomas on Discord, does he? That's interesting. The Dark Sorcerers live to assist the Devil King. Don't worry about it, David. I'll let the meeting begin. David, do you recognize the man in this picture? Have you seen him in one of your dreams? David looked at the photo. He had never seen him before. This is the man who hired those detectives to follow you and your colleagues during your tour of Europe. This one. Mr. Lands told us about how the King of the North cast a terrible spell upon you. How did that happen? Where did he come from? Well, in my nightmare, the castle was surrounded by armed peasants yelling at me to leave, and then the King of the North appeared in my room. King of the North! He must have sent you that nightmare himself in order to appear before you and cast his spell, so the nightmare warding ring was ineffective against the King of the North. What if next time he sends another nightmare, we also enter the dream world and fight him? There's no guarantee we can defeat him with our magic. If we were to lose, David's life would be forfeit. Why doesn't he have a Burroughs emote? The King of the North sent a nightmare, entered it, and then cast a spell from within. None of us are capable of a similar feat. That is, unless David were to become the Devil King. Our only choice is to find the King of the North and kill him with our weapons. First, we must interrogate those detectives we captured, and find out where their client is. They've been captured? Have they said the name of their client? They wouldn't say. Not without a truth serum, not even with a truth serum. They could be descendants of the northern tribes. Our only choice is to borrow the power of the Devil King and cast a spell to find out. I'm no sorcerer. I can't cast any spells. I've only ever had nightmares and visions. Susanna, help me out here. Yeah, this time we're not gonna take the pills though. They'll be fine. Greg, bring them here. Greg approached the wardrobe in the corner of the room and opened its door. He pulled out Clark and Vince, whose hands were tied behind their backs, and brought them over. I had a feeling it would be you lot. Why wouldn't you tell us the name of your client? This is a matter of life and death for us. Is this how you repay us for saving your asses? The detective never reveals the name of his client. I'm a professional. You weren't very professional before. I'm willing to kill you to find out. We could easily find out using the powers of the Devil King, but that would leave you crippled for life. The Devil King, huh? We've been hearing that name a lot, but we still don't know who that is. How about you introduce us? I'm telling you, we know nothing about this King of the North, or the Devil King business. Chief, I think she's serious. I don't want the Devil King to curse me. I don't know anything about them, but you know the client. Just tell them. Shut the hell up. I'll never betray a client. It's a matter of pride. Go ahead and kill me if you want, and don't bother with truth serums. I'm trained to resist them. David, we need your help. Please drink this, it's a sleeping medicine. Once your blood has been quelled, I'll use a spell to draw out the power of the Devil King and get everything we need to know from them. Make sure I get this right. You mean you can use magic? Susanna, did you get close to me because of the blood that flows in my veins? No, I got close to you because I love you. I've had dreams about you ever since I was born. I've loved you all my life. The only reason I've been hiding the truth was to protect you from the King of the North. Besides, what if I told you about the Devil King during our first meeting? You would have thought I was crazy and stayed away from me. Please, you have to trust me. Drink this. In truth, David was not particularly surprised by the revelation. It was true that if not for Susanna, he would have been killed by the King of the North, or possibly sent to a psychiatric ward. Well, that's happened twice already. However, he knew that using the spell to force the truth out of the detectives would cripple them, or even kill them outright. They're part of the northern tribes. King Hroth said that the sight of their blood would awaken the Devil King. You wouldn't have to fear the King of the North any longer. David believed Susanna's words, but the idea of killing the detectives made him hesitate. He did not want to be involved in murder. Here we go. Right. Another branch. Man, we've got a lot of loading today. Click, 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 click. This is the only thing about this game, is that it takes a while for stuff to load. So yeah, I think this is only one branch in this particular pathway, not two. Yeah, no problem, G. I'll catch you later. Thanks for watching. Yo. Bro, yo. See, this is why I like playing PC-88 games, because they don't take nearly as long to load everything. I mean, it's only because this game actually has most of its data on CD and it needs to download it onto the floppy disks first. Before it can actually run it. It doesn't actually stream the game data directly off the disk. And again, the PC-98, you do have to swap like a lot of disks around whenever you're playing stuff. I don't think that's nearly as problematic as as this is. This does take a while for a lot of things. The two detectives that saved his life, David could not possibly inflict mortal pain upon them. David, this could be our last chance to find out who their client is. I can't do this, Susanna. These men saved our lives. I can't kill them. The northern tribes may be coming to kill you as we speak. If you were to die, I don't think I could keep going. I've made my choice. Please untie them. Susanna understood that David would not change his mind and asked Greg to untie the two detectives. As Clark and Vince were being untied, David spoke to them. I know you're just doing your job, but your client obviously wants me dead. I want you to promise to stay away from us. That's right, your client is a murderer. I don't care if you're detectives. If you keep associating with him, we're going to find you and kill you. Oh, I'm so done with him. I'm actually a big fan of David. I'm terribly sorry our work put you in danger. Please forgive us. Name's Clark. I know you saved our lives and all, but I still can't talk about our client. Here, take this. I swear to withdraw from the investigation. I'm a man of my word. Clark took out his notebook and flipped through the pages. Then he wrote something, signed it, and handed the slip of paper to David. Come on, Vince. Let's get the hell out of here. And David, see you at your next concert. Good boys! Clark and Vince hurried out of the room. David looked at the paper Clark gave him and gasped. David, what did he write? He wouldn't talk about him, but he wrote the client's name and address. Get bonus! They weren't Northern tribesmen, they were actually your fans. I almost did something terrible. After what happened to you, Everything's fine. At any rate, we know where this man is, and there's no doubt he is with the Northern tribes. Let's go. This time I won't hesitate to take the pills. Let's go, David. Please wait. They know your faces. If they see you approach, they'll run away. Let us deal with this. We'll capture him and bring him to you. Yes, Vince was super into me yelling, "Kill! Kill! Sever the blood of the betrayer." Mr. Lands, you and the others stay here and keep David safe. We must leave now, before they realize something's wrong. Susanna, stay alert. We don't know when the King of the North could attack again. Greg's car drove off at high speed. The headlights faded into darkness. That night, David was fraught with anticipation and anxiousness. He was considering getting drunk to spend the night, but Susanna gave him sleeping pills instead. Yes, basically. And said, we'll run through the entirety of this branch and then probably leave it after that. If you want to see the rest of it, you've got to play it yourself. Or watch my other VODs. This game's great though, it is definitely worth experiencing it yourself if you haven't played it before. It's pretty fun actually. Like it's just very heavily narrative driven, so there's not really much you need to worry about besides making sure you put down a save file whenever you've got major choices to take. But they're pretty obvious when you see them. Possibly due to the sleeping pills, David woke up the next morning feeling refreshed. Susanna, who'd been sleeping at his side, was not there. David left the room and went down the stairs. Yeah, this game is really good. It is absolutely a highlight of the library. There are other games by Studio Wing like Onryo Senki, but they are pretty hard to play. There's no translations of them, and you probably could text hook them, but unfortunately I'm not able to text hook on my PC because the emulator that does that is terrible. It does not run very well on AMD CPUs for some reason, which is why I'm currently running this from Mac OS via a wine wrapper. And it's interesting running at like full speed, even at 4K full screen resolution, which is pretty funny. He could smell the fragrance of coffee coming from somewhere. He followed the scent into a large room. Yeah, emulators and emulators. It is what it is. I do have fucking Windows installed on my work Mac, but I prefer not to use my work Mac for stuff. No, it's not Nico Project. It's I'll give you the actual name of it. It's where's that window? There it is. Because I know Anne uses it as well. And I have actually been using it for a while, but that was before I upgraded my PC to what it is currently. The emulator is some weird Japanese one. Where is it? The actual name of it is PC-8801MA, which is basically the name of the system itself, but that's actually the name of the emulator as well. Nico Project works fine though. Like I've had zero problems with Nico Project. It's just this particular emulator, which is done by this particular developer, does not work on AMD CPUs properly. Like at some points when I've opened it up, it runs at 1 FPS. It does not run properly at all for some reason. Like I said, I've tested it out on an Intel Mac through Windows and it works fine. And I've tested it out on my M2 Max Mac through Wine Wrapper and it works fine as well, but for some reason it just doesn't work on my PC. It is weird, yeah. Like, I can easily replicate all the problems on it, and I don't know what it's doing. So I'm attributing it to the fact that it only runs on Intel CPUs properly. And it's not like my PC is slow, it's a Ryzen 9 5950X, so I don't know why it's not running properly. Right, in the dining room he found Susanna cooking. Good morning, David. I was going to wake you up once breakfast was ready. Those pills work great as usual. I slept like a baby. Where's everyone? Kidnapping Jeffs. They're on the rooftop with guns, keeping an eye out for Northern Tribes' raids. Mr. Land said we needed to hold the fort until Greg is back. I'm sorry to give you all so much trouble. Because of this blood that flows in my veins, we can't even sit together at the table. We're all bound to our fate. We sorcerers are simply following our path. From the moment we were born, we were destined to be different from normal people. So, unless I become the Devil King and defeat the King of the North, we... David dropped the coffee cup he was holding. He grasped his chest tight and slumped to the floor. My chest, it feels like someone's pushing a needle through it. Susanna approached David, touching him in order to help him up. David, what's wrong? Does your chest hurt? Don't touch me, it hurts. Someone's pushing a needle through my heart. A needle. It's a King of the North. He's cursing you. David, don't move. I'll be right back. Susanna ran down the corridor that led to the basement. She returned with 4 clay dolls and a heavy book. You were destined to be sus. Susanna drew a compass on the floor with David at the center and placed the 4 dolls at each cardinal point. Then she opened the book and she began to chant a spell. She was chanting loudly towards the wall. Had it been night, the Belmare Comet would be visible in that direction. Her forehead was dripping with sweat. Susanna was devoting all of her strength to create a barrier that would protect David from the King of the North's spell. David was sickly pale and his eyesight blurry. In his weak state, he did not react as the South Clay figure started glowing red. Susanna's spell came to an end. Her strength spent, she lost consciousness, collapsing beside David. The pain faded from David's chest. Understanding that the spell of the King of the North had been broken, he reached out for Susanna. What are you doing, David? You must slay the Northern Tribes. The Star of Darkness will leave soon. Why do you hesitate? You have inherited my blood. Do you not crave the power of the Devil King? Do you wish to succumb to the King of the North? I should not have pinned my hopes on someone unwilling to kill the men of the North. I must trust my will to a future generation. If the King of the North kills you, he will grow even more powerful. If you are unwilling to kill the Northern Tribes, you leave me no choice. I must kill you myself. When David opened his eyes, he saw King Hroth looming over him. More scream. David's body was numb and he could not move. As if roused by his scream, Susanna opened her eyes. David, are you alright? Yeah, thanks to you, I can't believe King Hroth was gonna kill me. King Hroth? No, that wasn't him. That must have been a spell of the King of the North. He must have been trying to deceive you. It was after you broke his spell. King Hroth showed up saying he has no use for someone unwilling to kill the Northern Tribes. He said he was going to pin his hopes on the next generation. Next generation? Quote, quote, quote. I see, he must be angry because there's little time left. He probably wants you to steal your resolve. So I have not one but 2 powerful kings after my life. Susanna, are you alright? You don't look so well. Susanna forced herself to walk to her chair and sit normally. She did not want David to realize just how tired she was. I'm fine, I think I'll make some more coffee. It took all of David's strength to raise himself and sit on a chair. David and Susanna were too tired to even chat. They were sitting on their chairs looking at each other, waiting for the exhaustion to pass. Excuse me. Na 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 na. I know, right? Roth just gave him a chance. After a few hours, the room was getting darker. Susanna had finally regained her composure and talked to David. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? I need to turn on the light. Click. Susanna picked up a lamp and turned it on. How'd you feel, David? I feel better now, all things considered. I wanted to lie down, but I'm afraid King Hroth will show up again if I fall asleep. Why don't you go get some rest, Susanna? No, I can't do that. What if you're attacked by the King of the North while I'm sleeping? Well, we won't be able to hold out much longer like this. We can't stay awake forever. But who knows what the kings will do if I fall asleep. I'm sick of living like this. At that moment, they could hear the voices of Mr. and Mrs. Lands, who were hurrying their way. Mr. Lands threw the door open. Out of breath, he addressed David. Greg is back. They brought Jeff, so I'm sure of it. At the news, they all hurried outside. They all hurried outside. Blah. God. This is what happens when you narrate for 3 hours. That's why I prefer having text-to-speech when we do PC-88 stuff, because I don't need to say anything while we're playing. Just have the TTS do it. David joined the others outside the castle. 4 cars pulled into the yard. Brett got out of his car and opened the trunk. Inside was Jeffs, the man who had hired Clark and Vince. We got him. Let's bring him to the basement. Yeah, it's because I'm out of range of my camera at the moment. We got him! Let's bring him to the basement. Emily hurried to light the candles along the hallway. This is fun. Once in the basement, they woke the unconscious Jeffs with smelling salts. Here we are, Jeffs. You pretend to be a simple fortune teller, but we know you're a sorcerer at the service of the northern tribes. How about you do yourself a favor and answer our questions honestly? Who are you people? Why did you bring me here? I don't know anything about any tribes. I'm just a simple fortune teller. Lies. We know you hired a detective agency to keep an eye on me. Tell us why you did it. I don't know what you're talking about. Let me go! In this photo you're shown talking to the detective, and then this one, and then this one. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Now answer me. Susanna showed Jeffs the photos they took of him talking to the detective. Someone must have ordered you to investigate me. Who was it? I don't know his name. He was paying me a lot of money to do it, but I don't know anything else. It's true, I swear. I was only in it for the money. Lies. He's a northern sorcerer. Of course he'll never say anything about the King of the North willingly. The king's bound to find out sooner or later. Let's force him to confess with a spell. The confession spell? Don't do it, you murderers. If I say anything, the King of the North will make me go through hell before he kills me. Please don't use the confession spell. You just confessed anyway, so it doesn't really matter. You just confessed. You're leaving us no choice. If you talk willingly, we promise to protect you from his retaliation. You fools, you know nothing of his terrible powers. Listen to me. Let me take David to him, and I'll put in a good word for you. I'll ask him to spare you. We're done here. David, take the pills. Letting him go would only spell disaster. Susanna gave David the pills. Jeff's eyes widened and his lips were trembling. He knew very well the effects of the confession spell. It's a good face, by the way. Good face. The others surrounded Jeffs and looked towards David and Susanna. Susanna began to chant a spell quietly. David's consciousness was slipping away. Let me just drop a save here. Ah, stop it, I beg you, my body, my head, it burns! Jeffs fell onto the floor, writhing in pain. My king, I beg of you, save me! Archbishop of St. Radford's Church, Lord Mellis, save me, Lord Mellis, King of the North. That works. Suddenly, blood poured out copiously from Jeff's face. No, not just his face, it was pouring from his entire body. The floor was flooding with the crimson liquid. He's dead. He was killed by a death curse. Horrified by the events, they backed away from the corpse. They could not turn away from the scene as if they were inside a nightmare. It's done, David. Jeff's told us about the King of the North. David, what's wrong? You should be conscious again now. Devil King! Well done, Susanna. It is I, the Devil King. My blood has been roused and has started taking over the blood of the man called David. By the time the sun has risen, he will be mine. What? You were supposed to give him your power, not possess him. What's going to happen to him? Worry not, David's body will remain unchanged. I am simply replacing his blood with mine. Then his soul shall be erased to make place for mine. Erased? But what about Alenovision? What about it? What does the Devil King care about the songs of you mortals? I have come to kill the King of the North. Once my goal is accomplished, you will be free of your duties. Do what you want with your lives. You deceived us, Devil King. You were only supposed to give him your powers. David, wake up, come back to me. Save. Okay. Silence, wench. It was you who put his mind to sleep. Kill the King of the North and you can have his body back. Satisfied? Susanna started chanting a spell that will return David's consciousness. That is enough, Susanna. Your duty is over. Leave at once, lest you wish to die. No mortal can withstand the battle between me and the King of the North. Greg and the others rushed out of the room in fear of David. No, the Devil King. Susanna alone remained. She ignored the words of the Devil King while chanting her spell. Cease your spell at once. Are you betraying me, Susanna? Grr, curses. David is regaining control. Susanna, help me. Where am I? I can hear your voice, but it's pitch black. I can't see anything. David, I'm here. I'm in front of you. Look at me. Susanna, I can't move my body. What's happening to me? David raised his arms and closed his hands around Susanna's neck. Die, Susanna! David, you're strangling me. Put your arms down. David could hear Susanna's voice. He could not see what was happening, but he focused his mind on his arms. If he could help Susanna by lowering them, he would do so. Relax your body, David. The power of the Devil King is flowing into you. Do you not crave power? Would you rather be killed by the King of the North? David heard the voice of King Hroth. He realized his abnormal condition was caused by the power of the Devil King. David tried relaxing his body. Then he heard Susanna's scream and he recalled her words. As his consciousness faded away, David had to decide what to do. Major branch! Yes, okay. Right, so let's follow Susanna's words first. Because there's two endings here. Din, 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 din. Yeah, so there's 4 here, and I think there's 2 and 3 in the other branch. Din, 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 din. David's hands released Susanna's throat and she collapsed to the floor. Susanna, your actions go against the Dark Laws. Do you realize this? Susanna, though coughing violently, stared at David. No, at the Devil King with anger. I became a dark sorceress only to help David. If you're going to erase his mind, to hell with the Dark Laws. I'll do everything I can to bring him back. Devil King, you said you would give me power, but not only are you trying to usurp my body, you even tried to kill Susanna. Why? My power can only be unleashed once my blood fully replaces yours. Erasing your consciousness is but one of the steps. Your fate has been sealed the moment you have witnessed the blood of the northern tribes. Surrender yourself to me. No, I don't want to. Susanna. Susanna, where are you? I can't see you. Blind. I told you to surrender. The blood in your veins is no longer yours, and your consciousness is fading. Only I have control of your senses. Susanna stood up again and started casting a spell that would bring David's consciousness back. Don't give up, David. I'm going to bring you back. It is futile, Susanna. Your meager powers will accomplish nothing. David's blood will not return. You are simply wasting your energy. Ignoring the Devil King, Susanna continued chanting her spell with everything she had. Then there was a change in David's expression. I can see you. Thank you, Susanna. That's enough now. We can never beat him. The Devil King is too strong. Susanna did not reply, continuing to chant the spell instead. They both knew that they were reaching their limit. Tears streamed from Susanna's eyes. Her voice was unsteady. The Devil King was not interfering, seemingly allowing her to complete a final heroic act. Stop it, Susanna. Any more than that and you'll die. Don't do this. Hearing his voice, she stopped chanting her spell. I don't care if I die now, because I could talk to you again one last time. I wish this moment could last forever, but I don't want to see you die. Let's leave this world together with this feeling in our hearts. Susanna tried getting closer to David. That's a bad idea. You wench! There we go. Right then, David grabbed his chest, screaming in pain. A needle is piercing my heart! David was writhing in pain. David, what's wrong? Does your chest... Ah, it must be the King of the North! What? The King of the North? Curses, he struck while David's consciousness was in control. He might actually kill him. Ah, my blood. David's blood, roused by the pain, is taking over my blood. Am I to be defeated by the King of the North? Susanna, you must cast a defensive barrier. If you will not, David's blood will boil and burst out of this body. Seeing David suffering, Susanna had no choice but to obey. She left to gather the tools she needed to create the barrier. When she returned, she was not sure she would actually proceed or not. What was the point of saving David from the King of the North, only for his mind to be destroyed by the Devil King? What are you doing, Susanna? Are you going to stand there and watch David suffer? Even if I cast the barrier, he's going to lose his mind forever. I wouldn't be saving him, I'd just be exchanging one death for another. Are you saying it's better for him to go through this torture? Without his consciousness, he will no longer feel anything, including pain. If you truly love him, then cast the barrier and spare him the agony. In tears, Susanna drew a magic circle and started chanting her spell. Cease that pathetic whining. You must devote mind and body to the spell if you wish to spare David from his torment. Seeing David squirm in pain, Susanna focused her mind on the spell. Finally, his expression relaxed. The pain is leaving. It must be a barrier. Thanks, Susanna, and goodbye. Devil King, if you want my body, hurry up and take it. At this rate, Susanna's gonna die. David's blood went still, and the blood of the Devil King was replacing it once more. David's consciousness began to fade. He seemed to have accepted his fate. David, don't go. What am I going to do without you? David is no more. His memories are gone. I no longer require the barrier. David has truly become the Devil King. Susanna, I forgive you for breaking the dark laws. In return, you must serve as my personal slave. Forever. Susanna's eyes were no longer looking at David. They were looking at someone who used to be David. Pour the blood of the dead northern tribesman onto a plate. I shall reverse the flow of the spell of the King of the North. He will feel the agony of his own magic. Without a word, Susanna obeyed the Devil King's order. She poured the blood of the corpse onto a plate. You should be ashamed to call yourself a dark sorceress with your meager knowledge of magic. Observe, Susanna. This is how you cast the dark spell reversal. Yummy soup. David, the Devil King, chanted a spell. Then he threw the bloody plate south. The stone wall hit by the plate was stained crimson with blood. Then blood started pouring from the wall. It poured copiously, as if the stone wall itself was alive. Could that have been the blood of the King of the North? The blood of the King of the North has been severed. How pathetic, to expire from a mere spell reversal. Perhaps time has diluted his bloodline, weakening his magic. I suppose the same has happened to all sorcerers, dark and northern alike. Susanna, send a summon to all sorcerers in the world. I shall establish a dark kingdom. Any country that will not submit shall be annihilated with my forbidden arts. Rejoice, Susanna, your beloved David will become the king of the world. Susanna was not listening to the Devil King. She approached the man that used to be David and hurled herself at him, piercing his heart with a dagger she had been hiding. The blood of the King of the North has been severed. I won't let you disgrace David's body any longer. Brand me as a traitor if you want. I don't fear your punishment. The Devil King, his chest pierced, slowly pointed a finger towards Susanna. She screamed as blood started oozing out of her body. She collapsed, squirming in a pool of her own blood. Yeah, she got exploded. She did her best to resist the urge of crying in pain. She did not want to give the Devil King that satisfaction. Now she could only await death. Shortly after, David's body collapsed, falling onto Susanna's blood. Agonizing, she crawled towards him. As death was upon them, they managed to grab each other's hand. As their consciousness faded, they had forgotten their pain. They left this world together, smiling. The next day, a large crowd had gathered at St. Radford's Church in Stratford, south of the castle where these events had occurred. They were mourning the death of Archbishop Mellis. Good-ish end, yes. Decent end, perhaps. Right, we have one more to go through in this branch, and that should be it. It's just loading the staff roll though, so you're gonna have to give me a second. Yeah, that ending is pretty cool though. Alright, G, I'll catch you later. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night. Yeah, I like that ending though. There's actually much better ones in the other branch. These ones are pretty cool though, because there's quite a lot of action going on, like at the very end. Like people getting kidnapped and people's heads exploding and stuff. It's pretty cool. Oh yeah, pretty good time actually. But yeah, if you actually want to see the endings in the other branch, I do urge you to play this game. Yeah, the actual Devil King appearing is pretty cool. You get to see glimpses of him every so often, but the actual proper Devil King taking over David's body is actually really cool. Even though they just draw like the sharp, angry eyes on him to make him look different, it's still a nice touch. I think it's actually pretty good. Plus, I don't think this game would have worked quite as well if it had been done with like anime characters. So, what's it? There's one more ending to go. Yeah, you just put on eyeliner, yeah. Right, so let me just remember which save file I need to load up. I think it's the last one, isn't it? Yeah. Was it this one? Yeah, this one. Because you actually have to pick... yeah, the rest of Lino Vision. Oh well, never mind. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know this game had existed until Trap played it like last year or so, and he played through the entirety of it as well. But I actually wanted to play it myself because, you know, you can't really enjoy these games unless you experience them yourself. You can have fun watching people stream them, but it's way more fun seeing the how the actual story plays out yourself. And I really enjoyed it the first time I played it. I wanted to play this for Halloween, but ended up playing Fatal Frame, like all of 3, all of 4, and all of 5 for most of the month. So I ended up like not having enough time to play Mirrors for Halloween. So here we are. It's been good though. I've enjoyed it. It's certainly a game that I like coming back to every so often. Yeah, it's cool. Like I said, if you ever get the time, you should probably play it yourself because it's really interesting. Actually, the other branch has completely different events going on in it. It's absolutely worth playing through if you ever get the time to, and it's pretty easy to run as well. You do need the specific emulator that the translation team recommends, because I think it's the only one that actually runs PC-88 CD. But it's certainly worth picking up. Yeah, the other branches start from a much earlier branch point than this, and basically run through a completely different set of events after that. I do have a save for that, but I'm not going to be running through them in this playthrough because I kind of want to play other stuff and also want other people to play the game themselves to experience it, because, you know, it's worth playing. It is worth playing. Was this the one? Oh yeah, so this is the one, yeah. So David joined the others outside the castle. 4 cars pulled into the yard. Greg got out of his car and opened the trunk. Inside was Jeffs, the man who had hired Clark and Vince. We got him. Let's bring him to the basement. Yeah, so at this point I actually need to let the Devil King take over the body. Emily hurried to light the candles along the hallway. Once in the basement, they worked the unconscious Jeffs with smelling salts. Here we are, Jeffs. You pretend to be a simple fortune teller, but we know you're a sorcerer at the service of the northern tribes. How about you do yourself a favor and answer our questions honestly? Who are you people? Why'd you bring me here? I don't know anything about any tribes. I'm just a simple fortune teller. Excuse me. We know you hired a detective agency to keep an eye on me. Tell us why you did it. I don't know what you're talking about. Let me go. In this photo, you're shown talking to the detective. And in this one, and in this one, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now answer me. Susanna showed Jeffs the photos they took of him talking to the detective. Someone must have ordered you to investigate me. Who was it? I don't know his name. He was paying me a lot of money to do it, but I don't know anything else. It's true, I swear. I was only in it for the money. He's a northern sorcerer. Of course he'll never say anything about the King of the North willingly. The King's bound to find out sooner or later. Let's force him to confess with a spell. The confession spell? Don't do it, you murderers! If I say anything, the King of the North will make me go through hell before he kills me. Please don't use the confession spell. Too late. You're leaving us no choice. If you talk willingly, we promise to protect you from his retaliation. You fools! You know nothing of his terrible powers. Listen to me. Let me take David to him, and I'll put in a good word for you. I'll ask him to spare you. We're done here. David, take the pills. Letting him go would only spell disaster. Good face. Susanna gave David the pills. Jeff's eyes widened and his lips were trembling. He knew very well the effects of the confession spell. The others surrounded Jeffs and looked towards David and Susanna. Susanna began to chant a spell quietly. David's consciousness was slipping away. Stop it, I beg you. My body, my head, it burns. It's going to be doing more than burning. Jeffs fell onto the floor, writhing in pain. My king, I beg of you, save me. Archbishop of St. Radford's Church, Lord Mellis, save me, Lord Mellis, King of the North. Dead. Suddenly, blood poured out copiously from Jeff's face. No, not just his face, it was pouring from his entire body. The floor was flooding with a crimson liquid. Din, 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 din. He's dead. He was killed by a death curse. Horrified by the events, they backed away from the corpse. They could not turn away from the scene as if they were inside a nightmare. It's done, David. Jeff's told us about the King of the North. David? What's wrong? You should be conscious again now. That face. Well done, Susanna. It is I, the Devil King. My blood has been roused and has started taking over the blood of the man called David. By the time the sun has risen, he will be mine. What? You were supposed to give him your power, not possess him. What's going to happen to him? Worry not, David's body will remain unchanged. I am simply replacing his blood with mine. Then his soul will be erased, to make place for mine. Excuse me. Erased? But what about Alenovision? What a question. What does the Devil King care about the songs of you mortals? I have come to kill the King of the North. Once my goal is accomplished, you will be free of your duties. Do what you want with your lives. You deceived us, Devil King. You're only supposed to give him your powers. David, wake up, come back to me. Silence, wench. It was you who put his mind to sleep. Kill the King of the North and you can have his body back. Satisfied? Susanna started chanting a spell that would return David's consciousness. That is enough, Susanna. Your duty is over. Leave at once, lest you wish to die. No mortal can withstand the battle between me and the King of the North. Greg and the others rushed out of the room in fear of David. No, the Devil King. Susanna alone remained. She ignored the words of the Devil King while chanting her spell. Cease your spell at once. Are you betraying me, Susanna? Curses, David is regaining control. Elmo vision. Susanna, help me, where am I? I can hear your voice, but it's pitch black, I can't see anything. David, I'm here, in front of you, look at me. Susanna, I can't move my body, what's happening to me? David raised his arms and closed his hands around Susanna's neck. Die, Susanna! David, you're strangling me, put your arms down! David could hear Susanna's voice. He could not see what was happening, but he focused his mind on his arms. If he could help Susanna by lowering them, he would do so. Relax your body, David. The power of the Devil King is flowing into you. Do you not crave power? Would you rather be killed by the King of the North? David heard the voice of King Hroth. He realized his abnormal condition was caused by the power of the Devil King. David tried relaxing his body, then he heard Susanna scream and he recalled her words. As his consciousness faded away, David had to decide what to do. He decided to obey the Devil King. Dun, 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 dun. Pew, pew, pew. Deep inside, David wanted the power to defeat the King of the North. As soon as he realized this, Susanna's spell lost its effect. Once again, he was strangling her. David's hands were tightening around Susanna's neck. David's consciousness was desperately trying to let her go. I can't control my arms, why? David focused his entire consciousness on his arms. Though only slightly, his fingers were releasing Susanna's throat. David, the Devil King is trying to erase your consciousness. He was only supposed to give me power. He tricked us all. He was always after your body. Ugh. Dead. David's consciousness wavered at Susanna's words. The blood of the Devil King assaulted David's blood, and Susanna was once again being strangled. Susanna, as a dark sorceress, you should have known that whoever breaks the dark laws must receive the ultimate punishment. Stop it, I'll give you my body if you want it so much, but if you kill Susanna, I'll bite my tongue. Do you believe you can make such a threat when you have no control over any part of your body? My blood has already taken over. Allow me to lend you my eyesight. Behold! David's fingers had gouged Susanna's throat. With a hair-raising sound, her neck snapped. Do you see, David? By all accounts, you have killed her. Worry not, your consciousness will soon fade away. You will not have to mourn her loss long. Come dawn, this body shall overflow with my powers. Then under the vigilant eye of the Star of Darkness, the blood of the King of the North shall be severed once and for all. David was losing consciousness and could no longer see Susanna. He could only hear the Devil King. He seemed so far away. Ugh, this pain in my chest. Ugh, it must be the spell of the accursed King of the North. David fell to the floor. I need more time. Damn you, King of the North! My heart! Consciousness of the Devil King was overwhelmed by agony. However, David himself could no longer feel pain. What's this? The northern spell has been broken. I no longer suffer. The King of the North must be drained of strength. Victory is mine. The Devil King raised his arms, shouting his joy towards the Star of Darkness. Then David's body once again fell to the floor, writhing in pain. I cannot move. I feel no pain, and yet my body is writhing uncontrollably. My blood is being overtaken by David's blood. How could this be? My blood, it feels like it's burning. My heart is going to burst. The spell of the King of the North has no effect on my blood, but it stirs David's, rousing it. Before long he will regain consciousness, only to die, and with his death my blood will be severed. I have long waited for the Star of Darkness to shine upon the planet. If I had not killed Susanna, I could have had her cast a defensive barrier. Such a terrible mistake. Yep, you done fucked up. Suddenly David stopped struggling and all was quiet. Maybe his heart had finally ruptured, or... No, he was not dead. David was pushing himself up. The magic of the King of the North has vanished. He must have depleted his very life to cast so many spells in a row. However, that would be a problem. If he died on his own, I wouldn't be able to take my revenge. Good, I still sense the warmth of David's blood. The spell of the King of the North is gone and I'm alive. Devil King, do you hear me? You killed Susanna and I'm going to avenge her. With his consciousness in control, David moved his body up the stairs. He left the basement and went further up. The Devil King had no energy left to stop him. The King of the North beat you. Look, my blood has been revived and I can control my body. Why don't you try moving it? Come on, I'm waiting. You fool, as long as the Star of Darkness exists, my blood is eternal. In fact, my blood is already taking over yours as we speak. Gasping for air, David raised his eyes towards the top of the castle. With the little strength he had left, he forced himself to climb the stairs. Devil King, your rebirth came too late. Now that I'm here at the top of the castle, I can follow after Susanna. No matter how bright the star of darkness shines, the Devil King cannot resurrect if I'm dead. Stop it, David. Have you lost your mind? Though his limbs felt numb, David managed to climb atop the castle wall. Holding on to his fading consciousness, he shouted at the Bellmare Comet. Wrath, the Devil King, I don't know how many have suffered, how many have died to satisfy your thirst for revenge, but your hateful bloodline ends with me. Thus David threw himself over the wall. Hroth screamed out wav. The consciousness of Hroth, the Devil King, cried out, gripped by the terror of death. Splat. Everyone dies. The next day a large crowd had gathered at St. Radford's Church in Stratford, south of the castle where these events had occurred. They were mourning the death of Archbishop Mellis. Everyone dies! Everyone is dead! Thus endeth ending 4. I think that's all of them in this branch though. Dee 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 dee. Excuse me. All this just to wait for the fucking credits. Also known as David Scream copy final. Yeah, I mean this branch has 4 endings, and they're all pretty interesting actually. I think the other endings are better though. But for that, you have to go through quite a large chunk of game. I think I have it's like on my 4th key on the number pad, and we're up to like key number 3. I mean, the scream is being used as my raid alert. I use it all the time. It's pretty common on my stream. I don't know if you can actually rip the sound files from the game itself though. Like the ISO. I don't know if they're actually WAVs or if they're some form of compressed file format. Something like that. I don't know. My god, how much of this are you trying to load? Right. Yeah, that's done. Yeah, it is more work than it's worth. It is pretty good though. Obviously you can actually just record it from the game as you're playing anyway, but yeah. Right, well I'm actually going to be done for tonight guys. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I actually enjoyed going through that branch again. I do recommend that if you want to see the other endings, you should probably play it yourself and find the other branch. Because the other endings are actually really cool. But thank you for watching. I am actually going to find somebody to host. I should be on tomorrow to play a little bit of World of Horror because I want to do some clears, if possible. And then Tuesday, I plan to start Possessioner on PC-88. So hopefully I'll be able to see you guys around for that and for the stream tomorrow if possible. If not, I will see you when I see you. I'm going to send you in the direction of Juno because he's doing stuff. So thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you tomorrow. Have a good night. Thank you. Good night.